Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a good show for you today, folks. We're going to take it in a little bit different direction, one that I'm excited about. You know, I myself am a dog lover. I absolutely love my canines. And one of the things that interests me about true crime, in the true crime aspect and about law enforcement, is police canines. And I absolutely love stories of police canines. Love hearing about police canines. One of the things that absolutely breaks my heart is when I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the news and I hear stories about canines that get injured or killed in the line of duty. Nothing breaks my heart more than hearing stories about that. But there is a great new book out there that I read over the weekend called Big Dogs, and it's written by an author named Steve Ditmars, and it's out by Wild Blue Press. And I got to tell you, folks, we're going to talk about that book today, and it's based on some real life experiences. Our author, Steve Ditmars, was born in Long Beach, California, as a proud graduate of the University of Southern California. Go Trojans! Got to say that they're gonna join the Big Ten here in a little bit and be knocking my Gophers all over the field for the next, 20, 30, 40 years, which I can't wait for that. He served as an officer in the United States Marine Corps and is a 28-year veteran of the Long Beach Police Department. He was a police service dog handler for 6 years and supervisor of the K-9 unit for 3 years. Steve retired from the LBPD as commander of the Special Operations Division, which included Homeland Security, Counterterrorism Communications, and the security details for the Long Beach Airport, the Port of Long Beach, and Long Beach Transit. He currently lives in Prescott, Arizona, with his wife Barbie and their 2 German Shepherd rescues, Gunner and Missy. Steve enjoys hiking in the many trails of the area and finds some of his inspiration in the beauty and history of the area. Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins is his first book. When not writing, he enjoys woodworking, computers, and spending time with his adult children, Eric and Cynthia, and their granddaughter, Charlotte. So there you go. Steve's enjoying competitive marksmanship since he was in high school. He appreciates the challenge of shooting, bringing man and machine together in harmony to achieve that perfect shot. I can relate there. I've done some shooting myself. So let's welcome in to True Crime Tuesday, Steve Ditmars. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be here, Tim. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for being here, sir. I want to thank you, first of all, for your long years of service. I want to thank you so much for working with canines as well, as they're such beautiful animals and such important animals as well. Service animals are a wonderful thing, everything from the medical community to law enforcement. They do such wonderful work.
Yeah, it's the 6 years I spent as a handler were some of the best in my life. I enjoyed it. I had a great dog. He was imported from Germany. His name was Osco. Mm-hmm. And it's a great thing because you're always in the middle of everything. You're always in the middle of the action. But when you're working with the dog, you're watching that dog and you're looking for all the little subtle clues that he throws off to tell you, where's the bad guy or where's the drugs that you're looking for or any of it doesn't. You can teach dogs, if they can smell it, you can teach them to find it. So it was a great job. I came back as the sergeant and did that for almost 3 years. And then later on, when I was in emergency operations, I was asked to come back again and resupervise because the program was involved in some classified information that we can't talk about. Right. But because of my Homeland Security background, I had the clearance to know what was going on with my officer, and the chief wanted that, somebody to keep an eye on him that could be told what they were doing.
Steve, let me first of all, I want to kind of tip my hat to you for throwing Osco into the book, which is really cool. That Osco got that little bit of tribute in the book. For those who of course haven't maybe gotten a chance to look at the book yet, or those who will be picking up the book, Osco is the first dog that J.W. North, who's the hero of our story, works with, and is his first dog.
I wanted to do that kind of as a tribute to him. He was a great dog, and I thought, it doesn't hurt anything, and why not? Why not show a little respect to that dog? He did. He worked hard for 6 years. was a great dog, did everything I asked him to, and then some. And he was a great family dog, too. That's something I think a lot of people lose out on. They see the police dogs on TV and it's a land shark. And they can be if they have to be. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that most of those dogs go home and they're involved with their families, and they change. My dog when he was at work, he was dialed in to the maximum. When he was at home, he was like a very well-trained dog. Mm-hmm. Still would do all the things I would tell him to, but he didn't, he never growl or show any aggression towards my kids. Yeah. And the worst thing he ever did was he was kind of a bull in a china closet. He'd knock my son down and go barreling on by, not even aware of what he did. But he was just a great dog. And working with dogs is, if you're a dog person, you got to have the right mindset.
Yeah.
But if you're a dog person, and over half the country is, then working with one and seeing what they can do is just so rewarding.
Let me ask you this, Steve, just on a personal note, was Osco the kind of dog who really was a kind of a paternal or maternal instinct with your kids when was it a he or she? I'm sorry.
He was a male. Most
okay.
of your patrol dogs are males, and it's not the females can't do the work. It's the male's a little bigger and a little bit more intimidating looking. And my attitude always was, if I can get the suspect to comply just by looking at that big dog, then that's the best way to go. You don't have to use force. You don't need to.
Yeah.
So with my kids, he was good. He was always very protective, but he was protective of everything in his home.
Okay.
That's kind of the nature. My two shepherds here, they're both rescues. That's Gunner and Missy, and they're very protective of their house. But neither one of them could ever be a police dog.
Yeah,
the mindset and it's just so particular. And when you're selecting a dog and what you're looking for, and it's very specific. Whereas both of these dogs, neither one of them have the temperament. They're typical of rescues. They've got their issues, and they've had a hard life, and they deserve a few years of happiness, and that's why I've got them here. I'm here to take care of them and enjoy their company. And but they're not the right mindset.
What are you looking for? I'm sorry. I'm curious. What are you looking for when you're looking for a canine unit, and then what are you looking for in a dog that's looking to track or trail?
For most of the dogs that we bring into the country, and most of them are imported, and a lot of people used to ask me, well, how come you don't use American dogs? And it's like, well, we would, but Americans get really attached to their dogs, and they don't like to let them go necessarily. My dog was being trained by one of the top handlers, a woman in Germany, and she was probably working 10 to 20 dogs. And it's sport there. It's Schützend, which translates out to working or protection dog.
Okay.
Those dogs are trained to do obedience, basic agility, jumping over fences and such, protection work, and tracking. And tracking and trailing are very different things, and we can get into that a little bit later when we get more into the story.
Sure.
The Dutch, they do something similar, KNPV, but those dogs are trained for these sports, but that translates over to police work very well. So first thing you do is you're going to go there because you got a dog that's partially trained. Now you got to get that dog to go to work for you. He's been working with a handler for a long time. When I first got Osco, it took a little bit, but we just spent the first few weeks just hanging out, playing and shake. He's a ball freak. So throw the ball, bring it back. Throw the ball, bring it back. And then you can start working. You start with basic obedience, and then you start doing a few things they don't do. They don't really search for suspects like we do in law enforcement. So you adapt the training, and you reward. And there's a lot of repetition, which isn't in the book. the book itself is very, very slimmed down in terms of the hours of work that you do to get what you really try to achieve is perfection. You're never going to get there. You got a dog and a person, and how you think you can put those two together and get perfection, but you work for it. You work to be as good and as reliable as you can. So you look one of the things I always looked for was recovery. So you bring a dog and you do a basic courage test on him. You have a bad guy jump out at the dog, and he's wearing a protective suit so he doesn't get injured. And you see how the dog reacts. He may crouch, but then he's going to go in and protect himself, defend himself. And then you send the dog, have the dog chase a guy, and he turns around and challenges the dog. And the thing I look for is after that's over with, the dog is all riled up now. He's excited, and you look to see how long it takes the dog. The bad guy takes off the protective sleeve or the suit, whatever he's wearing. How long before you can walk up and pet the dog? Okay. That's recovery. Okay. And a good dog is going to have a solid, quick recovery. You're not looking for the junkyard dog. You're not looking for an overly aggressive dog. You want a dog that if he gets kicked, he will stay in the fight. So he's got to be, stubborn that way. But you don't want a dog that's going to bite everything. I can't even count how many, hundreds of hours in schools as part of the DARE program, talking about police dogs and letting the kids pet the dog. And if you had a land shark, you couldn't do that.
Right.
And the community relations side of the police work police dog work is critical because you want the community behind you. Long Beach is a great town in that regard. It has, the people are behind it. It is, the program is funded by the community. They have a Canine Officers Association, it's a nonprofit. They buy the dogs. Obviously, the city provides the handler in the police car, but the dogs are purchased by this nonprofit for them. And not everybody's that way.
No.
But we started out as a pilot program, and it just kind of stayed that way. And we preferred it that way because this way the handler and our experts could get involved in the purchase versus just some administrator that says, buy that dog. That's the dog.
Yeah.
And it's worked out. It's been a great partnership, and it's worked out extremely well. I went back this year in May to promote the book, but also I was a guest narrator at a canine demonstration for them. So had a few hundred of the members of the association there, and we talk about dogs and what they're doing. And the hard part for me is it's been over 10 years since I've worked there. I don't know all the guys as well as I used to. Sure. So you don't have all the personal stories, but I can talk about dogs all day long. You say we got an hour. I don't know if we got enough time.
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. If you've got stories, I've got time, my friend. Absolutely.
I got story. A lot of the book, there's more than one. This is just the first. They're about things that have happened to me in my life, and I've changed them up, changed the names to protect the innocent.
Sure.
But I find that throwing in those real tidbits makes the stories better, I think.
Okay.
And that's the feedback I've got is people like it because it feels real to them. And that's, I try to make it real without too much reality because I don't know if a lot of people could handle the real gritty reality of the things that, police officers have to deal with every day.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Stephen, and again, this is kudos to you, and I'll tip my cap to you. One of the nice things I liked about this book, and a lot of true crime books or based on reality books, they go for the throat a lot, and they try to submerge you into a gritty world to try to throw reality down on you to make it seem like, it's like every crime book has to be dirty and gritty and it has to drag you down into this filthy world. What I liked about your book is it did reflect reality in that not every moment is dirty and gritty. I mean, it's a tough world, and you do reflect that there are tough things going on, but there are some very good, positive, touching moments, especially between the handler and the dogs. And you see that beautiful bond between the human and the animals, and the handler and service animal, which I really enjoyed about the book.
When I started to write this, the three themes I wanted were police dogs, which obviously is there, police family, because it's such an integral part. You can't have the one without the other.
Right.
There's plenty of stories on TV about police, where the guy's is by himself and the only thing he has is the job, and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to create a character like that. I wanted to create more what I saw. Certainly there are people like that they're isolated and all they have is the job. But that's not really the general truth of law enforcement. And then, the component that really ties the stories together is the serial criminals, and which I find fascinating. I do a lot of reading on them, and I take pieces of real criminals, just tiny little pieces when I'm building my characters to throw in there to kind of help create that bad guy, but where he's the ultimate bad guy, but there's other pieces to that, and it's a complex thing to kind of weave it all together and not just do a big data dump on you.
Right. Yeah. And there is, and we'll talk about it here on the other side of the break, there is a creepy bad guy that is woven throughout Big Dogs that we'll talk about. And you did a very good job of putting the creep factor in this particular bad guy. There's an ick factor to this guy that's on a 10 on a 10 scale, Steve. I'll give you that.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's that balance thing.
Yeah.
When you're creating these guys, sometimes on a movie, all you see is boom, there's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. But I want to show you a little bit about how he got that way.
Yeah.
Most of these guys aren't born to be serial criminals.
Oh no.
It's a product of their environment and the people within their lives and stuff. I mean, they would have issues regardless, but it's a few extra little pieces that kind of help push them over the edge and make them want to do the horrible things they do.
Right. Absolutely. Can I ask a question about Osco? How long ago did you lose Osco?
I think he was born in 93.
93. Okay.
Yeah. He got cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. How long did Osco serve? Long Beach.
He was a little over 6 years.
Okay.
When I got him, he was 3 getting ready to be 4. So he'd been training in the sport. He'd achieved his entry level certification as a working dog.
Okay.
And then he had a little issue. And the Germans, as I talk about in this book and in the second book, they're very picky to, some of these guys. This is, talk about being your whole world. Dogs are their whole world. And, this dog has an issue, and I don't want to give that away because it's part of the story.
Right. Yes. Yep.
Later. Yep. I don't want to give away every spoiler alert.
Right.
But, Osco and Aries had one little thing in common, and it made him desirable to let go. The trainer looked at the dog and said, this is the dog that's not going to get me the German national championship. Mm-hmm. He's never going to be the Sieger, which is what that's called there. And so he's a nice dog. He'd be a great police dog or something. So they put him on the block. And I had a woman import him for me, and she knew somebody over there that was, very involved in the police dog world in Germany. And he picked Osco out, and then there's a couple of things I needed to know. His hips were good and things like that. But, he was a great dog. When he came over from Germany, he looked like a bear because it was cold.
Oh, wow.
He flew into Southern California, and I picked him up at LAX, and he looked huge. And it was because he had all this extra fur on because it was cold there.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And, this is a dog. He doesn't live in the house. He lives in a kennel.
Right.
And so he had all this. So for the first 2 weeks, all I had was a snowstorm of dog fur in my house. As he's blowing it all out, he's panting all the time. He's like, well, dog's thinking, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah. Oh,
so
that poor pup.
Yeah, he adapted though, and
I'm sure.
Yeah, dogs are incredibly adaptable. They go from I got 2 examples out in the other room. They go from a rough, hard life, and they're just so happy to be going home.
Mm-hmm.
There was I had another rescue. Her name is Lexi,
okay,
and she was a great dog. And there's a scene in the book where JW is sitting on the couch and he's watching these dogs get acclimatized or client. Anyway, he's watching them in, out. And that was her. That was her in, out, is this mine? And finally she decided it was good. And she just climbed over the end of the couch and settled in my lap.
No.
And from that moment on, that dog, she said, I claim him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we ended up with our second dog, because my wife said, I want a dog. She was 100% mine.
Wow.
Great dog.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. That's the joy of dogs.
That is.
They give so much.
Yeah, they do. And what's amazing, what I love about dogs, not just the love and the loyalty, but the fierceness of protection, and the fact that they will sometimes they'll give more to protect you than you ever would of them. I'm amazed at the duality of people. There's no duality to a dog. It's instant. They will instantly be there to protect you every time.
Yeah, that's instinctual to them. Once you're established as part of their pack,
mm-hmm.
They will protect the pack. Yeah, that's one of the most important things to them. That's an imperative that has been in the breed for forever almost, to protect the pack, because that's part of survival.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with a dog. I'm convinced you just can't. Yeah,
ain't nothing like a dog.
That's right. That's absolutely right. With that, Steve, let's take our break. When we come back, let's talk a little big dogs. The new book that's out there from Wild Blue Press. As Steve has mentioned, it's the first in a series of thrillers that will come out from Wild Blue Press. The second one will be released here soon, I believe. Right, Steve?
Yeah, it's probably about 2 months.
Okay.
About 2 months after the release of Big Dogs, you'll have Gasping for Air.
Oh, good deal. Good deal. So Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins is out now. We'll have 2 different links available in the description of the show. We'll have one to wildbluepress.com. We'll also have another to Steve's page where you can get autographed copies of the book. So yeah, we encourage you to go get a signed copy as well of this book from Steve. When we come back, we'll talk Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins, and we'll talk a little bit about the story. Just a little bit, but just enough to give you a little tease. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, folks. I'll encourage you during the break to go get a copy of this book and sit back and enjoy, because it is a heartwarming story, and a story, if you enjoy dogs, if you love dogs, a story that you'll enjoy as well. When we come back, more with Steve Ditmars right here on The Best in True Crime Podcasting, True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to The Best in True Crime Podcasting, True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Our guest is author and, should we say former police officer? Can we say that?
Sure,
now?
Sure.
You never get it out of your blood, though, do you, Steve?
No. Okay. Once you've been a cop, it doesn't go away.
Okay. Steve Ditmars is our guest. The book is called Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins. It's released by Wild Blue Press. Steve, before the break, we said we're going to get into it. Let's get into it.
All right.
The inspiration for the book, of course, is based on your life. Could we say that, or you correct me? What was the inspiration for this book?
Well, in Long Beach, I had been a handler for 6 years, and I promoted to sergeant, and they had me leave. And what happened was Orange County Sheriff's, which is a jurisdiction nearby, had come in and done a demonstration for police management. And they showed them their bloodhounds. And they told them how it all worked and explained everything to them. Well, one day I got a call to go up and see the deputy chief of patrol. And we talked for a little bit, and he says, "How do you feel about going back to K-9 as a sergeant?" And I said, "Really? Sign me up." And he says, "Well, okay, here's your first job. We want a bloodhound team." And from there, all of this story flows. There's even a fictional part two, the whole book's fiction, but there's a kind of a backstory part about how we created this bloodhound unit in Long Beach. And we worked dogs, bloodhounds, for quite a while. We got involved with a couple of local search and rescue groups in Southern California. I met a guy, Larry Harris, who was just a great mentor. I learned so much about dogs from him. And so we had a dog, and very successful dog, did a lot of good work. The FBI got involved with us. We got a call from them, said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing some work for us?" And we went through all the paperwork that's always required, but we ended up with working with them. We worked we worked a lot of cases. Helped them with the DC sniper case, and then another serial killer case out of Alaska, Joshua Wade.
Okay.
And so this whole story kind of goes along, and then the government got involved again, and they said, "Well, could you train something besides a bloodhound to do this?" And we said, "Well, we'll give it a shot." And we trained shepherds and Malinois to do the work. And they're not as good as a bloodhound. A bloodhound has just an incredible sense of smell, but they were able to do the work and be successful. So it was that's kind of where the idea of this creation of bloodhound or big dogs came from. When I retired, I started thinking about this in terms of a story, and I've never really wanted to write a book. I've written way too many police reports and a bunch of college term papers, but that's about it. And I had no idea how to write a book. But I kept having these scenes in my mind. I like to call it my muse was, inspiring me with these things. And I would think about them every night before I'd go to sleep.
Okay.
And I just kind of helps relax you. And I'd think about the stories. And the first, I had this prologue in my mind. But when I started actually to write, it ended up being the first 4 chapters, because once again, no concept of the mechanics of writing. But I had this thing that just kept coming to me. My wife went away on vacation for a week, biggest mistake of her life, because she comes back and I've written half a book. And she's like, "Oh my God, what have you done? I can't leave you alone." So I read the book and I said, I think this isn't too bad. And I gave her the first 10 chapters and she read it. And then she, when she finished, I said, "Well, what do you think?" Because it's like, am I wasting my time finishing this? She said, No, it's good. But that it's good came with a huge lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Your writing skills suck.
Oh.
And so we rewrote it. And then I sent it out to, I have a group of beta readers that have slowly grown. I finished the book, obviously, and they went through it and they helped me correct technical errors. I got firearms people, medical people, because that's the last thing. I read a lot. I tons of books. And if you want to turn me off as a reader, put something in there that's just factually no way incorrect. The old taking the safety catch off the Glock. Which doesn't have a safety. So things like that just drive me crazy. And I'm, the area I wrote about, I know very well, but I don't know everything. And so I have people read these for me. And then we sent it to a real editor. And Robin Samuels at, I think, Shadow Cat Editing.
Mm-hmm.
Great person. She's a cat person, but somehow she endured big dogs. And, but she did a great job. And I learned a lot from her in terms of the mechanics of writing. And it was funny. I gave her the book and it was 90 or 88,000 words.
Okay.
And she says, well, typical for your genre is 80. And I said, well, okay. And she said, don't worry, we'll cut it down. By the time she was finished, because she kept asking for more, it was 93,000. So it went up 5,000, not down 8. And I think she got captivated by the story, just like you have.
Yeah.
And there were things she wanted to know that, as she put it, aren't obvious to the everyday person like you think. But it was a tough experience for me. And, it can be you got to check your ego at the door as an author, because people are going to second guess everything. And I get it, but it's a team effort. I've always worked in teams. And when I started doing this, I don't do it by myself. We'll go for a walk and I'll storyboard a chapter with my wife while we're walking the dogs. And she's been a very strong critic of my work, and she steers me right generally. I think sometimes we get into some pretty good arguments over the way I feel and the way she feels, and that's fine. That's why I use her this way, is to help me get that. But if I feel strongly about it, I'm not going to just give in.
Sure.
We usually find a way to compromise.
Sure. When it comes to, I've got to throw this at you too. And I don't know if this is a combination of your editor at Shadow Cat, or this is your wife, or who, but I think maybe it's a team effort, or it could be just you. But I'll give you this. I'll give you your flowers on this. You've done a masterful job of taking your characters and fleshing them out throughout this book. Everybody has a backstory without getting too lengthy with it. So you feel like you know these characters without launching an entire book of just character work. And
I did that a little bit. Everything's on purpose, but some is more purposeful than other. But one of the nicest compliments I ever got was one of the readers said, you go to the trouble to tell me about the victim. Mm-hmm. And she says, most of the time there's this, here's victim A, let's kill her off. It's all about the murderer. Well, it's in my world, because I've been in the real world of law enforcement. And, I was never a detective. I was always in patrol as an officer, as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, and then commander. I promoted out of that into more management. But I always dealt with both sides, the victim, the suspect. But there's a third side, and that's the people that care about that victim, the ones that are still there, they're angry, they're heartbroken, any of a number of things. And I just felt like if I didn't give a little bit of that to the reader, then I was doing a disservice to them. I wasn't telling the whole story. And in reality, this is a police story. Mm-hmm. And so to give you a little introspection into what it's like to be a police officer, because, what you see on TV is not the real McCoy. Probably the closest I've ever seen was Adam 12 to being, real police work.
Really?
Because a lot of nothing calls, they fit a week's worth of police work into an hour on that show. Mm-hmm. And, but it was a Jack Webb deal, and Jack Webb was a stickler.
Yeah.
For authenticity. And it felt real, because it was. And that's, if you throw in a little bit of boredom in between each one of those scenes on the show, that's pretty much what police work's like. I used to work the overnight shift graveyard. And man, it would drag for hours and hours. And then the next night you'd come in and you'd go call all night long. That helped keep it interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's the best compliment I can throw forward is that you're right. You got to know a little bit about each victim, which in some way kept you invested in everybody in the story. And that's something that you don't see. You're right. The victims are very disposable in most books. And
you could just see the director. Okay, send me another victim in.
Yep, wheel them in, stab them, and slab them. Yeah.
But that's not the real world, and that's what I tried to bring in was that truthful nature. Because if I tell you a little bit about a person and don't make them disposable, then when that person gets murdered, when they're going through their moments of terror before they die, maybe you feel a little bit of that too, and you get a little buy-in into the terror of what it's like to be a victim of that type of crime. Well, any type of crime being a victim of it's rough on them. People feel violated, just because their home got broken into. Can you imagine what they would feel like if they were violated? And it's difficult, and it's difficult as an officer. Mm-hmm. You got to go talk to those people.
Well, in that too, you see exactly where the grind of police work really is. I mean, from there, it's not just dealing with the victim; it's dealing with victims' families and dealing with people who are dealing with ongoing trauma, or dealing with the trauma of someone who's maybe been murdered. So it's getting justice for those who have been murdered. So it's a continuing cycle, and that goes on and on and on for years and years.
It's a theme, excuse me, you will see throughout the book and the follow-on books. One of the issues that JW is kind of a straight-laced, pretty much straightforward kind of guy, mm-hmm. and he sees all this and it bothers him, and part of him's like, I just want to shoot this guy. And you can't, because it's not like in the movie world where Clint Eastwood gets to shoot every bad guy he comes across and the crowd is cheering. Mm-hmm. If that happened in the real world, they'd fire him and put him in jail for the rest of his life. And that it would be probably appropriately, at least in some cases. Yeah. But it's hard to show that. And that's part of what I wanted to show. And part of that, police family thing is how the officer deals with all this tragedy around him. And then he's got to take it home. Yeah. How do you take it home? Maybe your wife isn't as mentally tough as you are, or maybe she's more mentally tough than you are, and she can help you through it. But it can be a real challenge.
And you have to test that boundary, and that's one that may make or break your marriage.
Well, absolutely. You see a lot of divorce in police families, and it's for a variety of reasons. They're, people being people, everyone's an individual. There's no 100% answer about, why things happen, but that stress and not bringing it home is a challenge, because the wife wonders, what are you doing? You just go to work, drive around all night, and that's it? Then why are you drinking so much? Yeah. And, a lot of cops fall into that trap of the bottle is their emotional release.
Let me ask you something, Steve. Is it possible to separate a law enforcement career away from family? Is it possible to keep the two completely separate and keep your family innocent and clean away from what you do for a living?
I don't think so. And I think that's probably why a lot of police's marriages fail, is either one side can't handle it, the ugliness, or the other side can't handle talking about it, and it builds up that tension. I think that if you're going to have a successful marriage to somebody in that field, or maybe even in the military or any field where there's a lot of stress and you see a lot of horrible things, that you're gonna have to have a wife that's willing to listen. And I'm not perfect. I didn't bring a lot of stuff home. I tried to protect her from the ugliest things, but sometimes you can talk about them in kind of an indirect way and still get it out there. Maybe I have a future not in writing, but in police counseling.
Maybe. I
don't know.
On a related thread, just how reliable is police counseling? I mean, do you feel you can go to, as a police officer, do you feel like you can go to a police counselor or someone on the inside and actually get this stuff out and not feel like you're going to be turned upon or have it be brought up against you in some negative light?
I think there's a lack of trust there. And I can speak from personal experience. 1989, my police dog was shot on a SWAT deal. Incredibly stressful, horrible time for me and my family. And I dealt with it internally. We had an organizational psychologist, and I went up to him one day and I said, maybe you and I should talk sometime. And he says, "Nah, you're doing fine."
Oh,
yeah. And that just, and I know that person very well, and he's a friend, and he probably did me a favor. There is a belief amongst, I think, the rank and file officer that anything they say to the department shrink is probably going to go to the chief. I ended up going and seeing a private counselor, and my police officer association actually has their own person that you can go talk to. But I went to somebody outside that even, and it is good to talk things through.
Yeah,
talk with your friends, talk with your family, because like I said, you're going to see things that just people probably shouldn't have to see.
Yeah, I can't imagine going through that level of, at times, trauma. Let's call it what it is.
Sure.
And not having a way to deal with it without going into unhealthy ways of dealing with it. And you have to have healthy ways to deal with it in order to keep going, because not every person has a supportive partner. Not every person has a healthy way of dealing with it. And if you feel like you don't have a supportive outlet at work to get that, to deal with that trauma, you've got to be able to turn somewhere. And if you don't feel like you have a healthy outlet, you're done, Yeah.
And some people, for sure. There are some people that are strong enough to deal with it their whole career. And then there are others that are so fragile that, they end up either leaving or something worse. And, it's the nature of the job that you're going to see these things and have to deal with them at one point or another. And you've got to be able to deal with it. You got to be able to get it out of your head and into your mouth. And even if it's just you're talking with a buddy, you talk to somebody about it. We see it with veterans, and veteran suicide is high, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
And I've lost a number of my brothers in blue to suicide, and it breaks my heart. But it happens, and it shouldn't. There's police officers are on a less personal level. They're getting to be a rare commodity nowadays, and we can't afford to not have everyone we can have out there.
There's a lot that took early retirement after the riots here in Minneapolis. And they chose to walk away and there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of them, after there was defund the police movement up here in Minneapolis, a lot of them felt like they weren't appreciated, they weren't loved, they weren't needed. And it's sad to say that it was the wrong move. A lot of people should have backed police officers here in Minneapolis, and we're paying for it now. It's not a political statement; it's the truth. Carjackings are up in Minneapolis. Murders are up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And
crime's up everywhere in the country right now. And it's a combination of things that, we won't get into the politics of it.
Right.
It's not, but, we don't have enough officers to do it. There's not a department out there that is probably fully staffed because of a variety of things from, just the conduct of people before they were going to be police officers with drug use and things like that, into doing other stupid things to basically deselect themselves. And it's a shame because there's probably a lot of people that could be a good officer, but they take themselves out of the process through their own actions.
Right. Exactly.
And, it's a mess. I mean, even back over 10 years ago when I was an officer, number one challenge, hiring and retaining qualified, motivated police officers. Couldn't get them, couldn't get enough. And it's still an issue, maybe worse so today because of the defund movement and things like that. I went through the Rodney King riots, and we didn't have it bad in LA like they did in Los Angeles, but you could still feel the atmosphere. And I tell you, when you would drive down the street and somebody would wave at you and say thank you, you felt appreciated. And it makes all the difference. Yeah. It makes all the difference to the guys to know that people want them there and that they care and that they're not going to just fire them at the first thing they do. Yeah. Cops make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's switch up to big dogs and the plot of the book, which deals with J.W. North. J.W. standing for John Wayne North, which is his name, Lieutenant North. Lieutenant North, you might want to say it might be a classic plot point. It's one of those gotcha plot points where it's his last day on the job, Steve. Yeah. And he's just trying to make it through the last day and get to retirement. He's got his golf clubs all picked out. He's had them picked out for 6 months. He's been fitted for it, although he's horrible at golf, and I can relate to that.
That's something he and I do have in common.
And he's got it all planned out. He's going to have a breakfast with his squad. He's all set to go off with his wife Bonnie and travel and scuba and do all that neat stuff. Except for he gets there's a wide cast net for an all would you call it an all cars call to a house, and they have a killer out there that they call the Shadow and I'm summarizing in a much, you could probably summarize a little bit better than I can, but they call him the Shadow because he breaks and enters a little bit, but he's seen in a flash or a shadow, and he's known for knocking people unconscious and raping women, right?
Right. He's when you first meet the Shadow, he's a serial rapist, and that will change. I'll give that much up. I think that's going to be kind of self-evident to anybody that's read a true crime novel. And this follows true crime, even though it's not. And he's a serial in that he's driven to do this. It's a compulsion within him to go out and attack women. He's a little different. He's would be considered an organized criminal. He does a lot of surveillance. He learns a lot about his victims, and he prepares what he believes is meticulously. Part of this is in his own mind. He's a super criminal, but when the average person looks at him, they don't see much. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of one of his skills is he moves around in society and nobody ever really sees him. And there's a quote in the book where he says, I've been sneaking up on girls all my life. And it's just that he considers it a talent. Everybody else kind of thinks it's creepy.
Yeah.
And he he's been, victimizing people in Long Beach, and J.W. North takes things like this personally. And so he's put out what he calls a heavy bounty. I'll buy breakfast for anybody that catches this guy. And that's kind of where we pick it up. Is he's been dealing with this guy for a while, and boom, last night on the job, and he gets the hot call, crime in progress. He's not too far away, and it wouldn't matter if it was the other side of town. J.W. North's going to roll.
All right. So do we want to get much further than that?
Yeah, I'll leave it up to you. I'll cut it off. I'll answer your questions as best I can without giving up too much, because I don't want to spoil it for the reader. It's not a control thing for me, but I love talking about these books.
Okay.
They're, to me, fascinating, and they were a joy to write. After I get it down on paper, not so much. The editing process is, and I don't want to scare off any would-be authors out there. It's a lot of work.
It is, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've read this book. Of course, it's kind of like going back and seeing an old friend that you haven't seen for a while. Mm-hmm. And you look at it and you go, oh, I like that. I like that. And then you go, I hope other people like it when they read it too. Mm-hmm. I'd have written these whether anybody read them or not. It got to the point where my muse was kicking me in the butt saying, write the damn book, Ditmars. And so I did.
Let me ask you this, Steve. When writing about JW's, because there's a lot of different scenarios in here. There's the politics of getting his own, when he's trying to get the big dog's organization going to get everything going. And again, I'm trying not to.
Sure. I think this is a safe area.
Yeah, I think this is a safe area. When trying to come up with that plot point, let me draw a parallel to real life here, because I want to find out your journey when it comes to getting these things going in real life. When it came to JW's struggle was trying to get it funded outside of the police department.
Right.
You had mentioned that earlier, that the city, it was private funding that paid for the dogs. It was the city that had paid for everything else. How hard is it these days to get something like, because I'll do a little foreshadowing here and a little bit of the thing about the dogs out of the bag here. The dogs are trailing, or they're following trails.
Right.
We've heard of cadaver dogs here on the show. We've talked about cadaver dogs in the past, and dogs that go out. Okay. And we've talked extensively about cadaver dogs, and we can talk about that on a different show. By all means, we can have you back and talk about cadaver dogs. And they're an interesting thing as well. Very interesting thing. Tell me a little bit about internal politics versus funding when it comes to things like cadaver dogs. In this book, you set up the internal strife when it comes to why it takes so much to get administration to believe in the science of dogs and scent, and believing in the fact that they can do these things. It seems like they're real skeptics in administration. They really have to see it. We have to see the science. That's the one thing you keep stressing. We have to see the science. Yet over and over and over again, you can show them, well, they can pick up a trail. They can pick up a scent. They can pick up, different things. They're showing it with cadaver dogs now.
Yeah.
Why is it that it seems like it's so tough for them to believe this when you show it over and over and over again?
Well, police officers, first of all, are the original doubting Thomas. Thomas in the Bible had to be a cop, because, it's always show me, show me, show me. And even then they question. Right. And part of that is it goes back to control. And, with management, when they say, yeah, run with it, they're putting their faith in you that you're not going to embarrass them. You know, and the higher you go in law enforcement, the more political it becomes. My chief friends will curse me, but that's the truth. At least that's the view of the common street cop. And then having risen to the rank of commander, not quite chief level, but still pretty high up in the organization, you see how politics becomes a factor in it. And you always have to take that into account. And one of the things that, you talk about J.W. North, and he has a fatal flaw. He always seems to think he knows better. He always thinks, how can you question this? It's right there. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me, And so he misses that sometimes, and a couple times it will get him in trouble down the line because he thought there's not going to be anybody at the end of this trail. The guy's long gone, and the next thing you know, somebody's shooting at him. And which brings out one of the bitter ironies of the story, and it repeats. JW has been told by the FBI, serial criminals, they're not real confrontational with law enforcement. They're not gonna fight you. They're smart enough to know. But he never seems to find that as his experience.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. You're supposed to give up. What are you doing shooting at me? But, back to the politics side of it, one job I had, and for a number of years I had planning and research, and I had the fleet, and all the computers, and I was the ultra geek of Long Beach PD. And I had a bunch of great geeks, and I can use that term because I was one. And working with me, and we implemented some great technology projects. Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about something scary, go up to the chief's office with a proposal where you're going to upgrade the computers in the squad cars, but you're going to be able to take everything that the officer can do at the station and now do it in the black and white. He can run records, he can do everything. And it's only going to cost you $10 million, chief. No problem. Well, he's got to go across the street to City Hall and, hey, look at all this great stuff, and it's only going to cost you $10 million. You can have $5 million. And then you try to make it work. But I've dealt with the politics of it. And that's part of the reason why, the hard-learned lessons I had, I set JW up for a little bit of a fall there because he walked in thinking he had everything under control, and he didn't.
Yeah.
That's the real world.
Yeah.
We don't live in a vacuum.
Sure.
And, other people, just like the criminal has a say in how things end up, so does management, so do the people in City Hall and all those others.
Yeah. It just confounds me that time and time again, these canines are showing you that they can sniff out drugs. They can find trails. They can identify blood signatures from cadavers. They have this enhanced sense of smell that can pick out a lot of things that we can't.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
Yeah, and they keep refusing to acknowledge this.
Well, part of that, I'll tell you a story about the abilities. It blows my mind still. I read a book a long time ago by a guy named Johnson. It's called Tracking Dog, if I remember right. And in this book, he trained a German Shepherd to follow. They had a problem. It was up in Canada. The natural gas pipelines were under 20 feet of frozen turf. And they had leaks in the welds and such. And it was costing them a fortune. So they'd bring out their high-tech gadgets and they'd get them. And then they'd bring the dog out. He trained his dog to alert on odorized natural gas. And this dog was hitting 3 or 4 times as many sources. And so they started digging, and sure enough, the dog was right more than they were.
Wow.
Under 20 feet of frozen ground. And he's finding natural, and you wouldn't smell it. I wouldn't smell it.
No.
But the dogs have this, they have an incredible nose. And that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with dogs throughout history, is, because they can find things we can't.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen magically. That's a lot of work.
Right.
The training that I talk about in this book is nothing. That's probably a 20th of what in reality be doing. But it's not a training manual. It's a story, and it's designed to be entertaining. But I wanted you to get a taste of how much work I go crazy. I read one book about, it's got dogs in it, and the guy has his dog doing all these wonderful things, and he's never trained for it, in his life. I'm like, how does he do that? No, that's not real. That's not the real world. Dogs can do a lot of incredible things, but you got to teach them, and then you got to reinforce it. Every night I would go home with my dog. We'd get out of the car. I'd throw my keys into the grass. We'll find them. Bring them back. Every night. We didn't go in until he brought me those keys, because you're just always training. Every opportunity you can, you train. You get sent to a school in the middle of the night on a burglar alarm. And you'd say, you search it with a dog, you find nothing. All right, you look around at all the officers that are there to help you. Who's low badge number? Or who wants to wear the sleeve? All right, go hide. I want to turn this into something positive for my dog. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't find something a lot more than you find something. And if the dog gets used to never finding anything, he's going to lose his enthusiasm for searching.
Yeah.
So, we'd always try to turn it into a positive. You talk about cadaver dogs. I read about had an earthquake in Mexico City, mm-hmm. and they were finding bodies after bodies in all the buildings that had collapsed. The dogs started getting depressed because they never had to find so many people, dead people. Yeah. And it depressed them that they would never, a lot of times especially in your early training, the dog finds somebody and there's a lot of positive reinforcement from the person. Yeah. And now they're not getting anything except from their handler. And a friend of mine, he writes about search and rescue dogs, and talking about how you find a body, and that dog is expecting a reward. Play. Most of them are play driven. They want the ball or the toy or whatever. They want that interaction. But if the guy's family is standing right there, how do you do that? And he talks about having to go off into away from everybody so he can give his dog his reward and stuff. When you're talking a real high voice, you get really, really happy and jumping around. The dogs love it. And, but you don't want to do that in front of somebody's family that you just found the body in the woods. And there's a lot of little pieces to this that we never think about. Yeah. You have to maintain that professionalism. But the flip side is you got to give the dog what the dog needs, or else he's eventually just going to shut down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you need the dog to do his job. But it just, I could see where the dogs would get depressed after a while because they think they're doing bad, even though they're doing good. They're doing their job. They're not getting that reward. They need that. Yeah, they don't really think like we do, although we like to think they do. Yeah. And so you have to think like they do, or at least how we think they do. We don't really know. Dogs don't talk to tell us. Yeah. They smile and they'll interact with you. And if you can read their facial features, you can tell. Dog's happy, dog's not happy. Look at their eyes, Yeah. You're doing a really tough training point with the dog. And the handler is... he's frustrated. Well, that goes right down the leash to the dog, and the dog's confused because he's never been like this before. And you're standing there as the observer, supervising training, and you say, okay, go take your dog over there and play with him for a while. Throw the ball, do something happy. Yeah. Because I'm looking at his eyes, and he's stressed. And all we're doing now is negative. Mm-hmm. They say, I know we got to get there. We got to get it to the point where the dog does the garden bark, which is really hard for the dog. They any movement, and they're gonna engage, and they just see that as tug of war. They don't understand. But he's got to understand the rules of when he can and can't do things. And it can be really challenging because he wants to do the things that bred into him. He's a hunter. He's a protector. All these different drives that he has. And you use those in police work. You build on it.
This may seem like an off-topic question, but I'll ask it anyway, Steve. Does the psychology of working with dogs in the field, can we apply it to our everyday dogs that we have at home?
At least a little bit. With the dogs I have now, they're both rescues. They both got their own issues. They're both very fragile emotionally.
Okay.
I don't know what they went through before they came to us. We don't know what nightmares they did or didn't have.
Okay.
Because most of the time, sometimes you get lucky on a rescue and it's where somebody died and the family can't keep the dog. But a lot of times we got him at the pound. He was on the 30-day list, and it's either the rescue takes him or he's going to take a big nap. And so I don't know with either one of my dogs, but I can tell, if they start to do something, there are certain imperatives like don't go out in the street, things like that. Because they're both pretty good. I've worked with them a little bit, and they'll stay close. They won't go out and do things, but every now and then they see like a little kid or something. They want to go play. They want to interact and get petted. And I'll give him a good harsh, kind of a growly, and he just drops to the ground and he'll start to slink away. And I'm like, okay, remember, Steve, not a police dog, not as tough. Come here, Gunner. Let's talk about getting back up. But there's two imperatives there. One, you're not supposed to go over there unless I tell you it's okay. Two, I don't want you to be, so afraid that now you drop into a defensive posture every time somebody's around you. Yeah. Yeah. And I want you to be happy. You deserve some happiness, but there's the other side of the coin. You can't have them running amok either.
Right. And I understand that. Yeah. See, we had a rescue, when I was much younger, in our family. His name was Pedro, and nicest pup you could have ever met, but he was abused. And you could tell because when you would, it sounds, some people may think it sounds humorous. Some other people would just shudder when you say this, but when you would speak Spanish to him, he would dive under a couch and he would shake. Wow. So he was obviously he was beaten. And when you would pull out a broom, he would dive under a couch or a chair and he would shake. So obviously he was beaten with a broom.
We have, with Gunner, I don't know what somebody did to that dog. He's very hand shy. So when you want to pet him, you kind of have to let him sniff your hand. And, he'll slink away from you. But if you bubble wrap, he doesn't like popping sounds. And if we get something shipped to us and we're unwrapping it, he sees bubble wrap and he's heading for the dog door. Not that nothing's been popped. He just sees it and he knows what it is. Yeah. My wife said, no, Gunner, it's okay. You can come back. And but somebody terrorized that dog along the way, and it's just tragedy because he's a great dog. Yeah. He has a very loving, great personality. But there are things about him that I see, and you as an owner of a dog that's been rescued, you just deal with it. Yes. Yeah. Those things tend to be so deep, they're just not going to go away. I mean, we've had that dog for almost 10 years now, and he still sees bubble wrap and runs from it. Yeah. When that's that deep and that emotionally scarring, it's hard to work that out of him. It's almost impossible. You can't. Yeah. 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 When we moved here, we bought a pool table. It's in the formal dining room, and it's also a nice dining room table. And we played pool on it twice. Mm-hmm. Because the first time he heard the balls crack, that dog was flying out the door. So we have this gorgeous pool table that we never use because it scares him.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's he makes up for his these minor things. You you shift your lifestyle to accommodate them. Yeah. That's part of the responsibility. When you're taking on a rescue that this dog probably has issues, or he'd have been gone by now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want
somebody would have picked them up.
And like you stated earlier, you want them to be happy, and that's what matters. That's what matters. Yeah.
That's where there's a story in book 1, because I have to keep them straight in my head because I've written 3 of them. But book 1 is coming out soon, Big Dogs, and there's a story in there that's straight from these 2 dogs. Mm-hmm. That's the smoke alarm.
Yes, story. Yeah, I love that story. Yeah.
And real life, real world, and you haven't lived till you have an 80-pound German Shepherd sit on your head because they're afraid of a low battery smoke alarm.
Yeah, that was funny. That's a funny story. Yeah,
I try to because dogs are part of my life, and they always will be. Mm-hmm. I try to weave a little bit of that in because it makes the dogs, and this is the wrong word, it makes them seem more human, more normal, the police dog. Because like I said, I think a lot of people just have this misconception of what a police dog is and what it would be like to live one. I used to tell people that, my kids played ball with my dog. They were just terrorized about what would happen with, this dog was going to eat my children. And it's funny, I can tell this story because I'm pretty sure that the person involved either won't remember it. I was doing these DARE programs in school, and I would get this questions. You just, where'd that one come from? From kids, and the craziest question I got was from a teacher. And I was standing in front of the class, and she said, "What would happen if you were to just drop dead right now?" And I'm sure in her mind, she had this image of this German, shepherd going on a search and destroy mission, and full werewolf, and just eating the whole classroom, including her. And I, being the smart ass that I am, I just said, "Well, I don't know. It won't matter to me. I'll be dead." And then I said, I should give her a legitimate answer because you could tell it was an earnest question. It was based on her beliefs of what these dogs really were.
Yeah.
She's probably imagining that this dog, without me there to control it, would go crazy. And I said, we've actually trained for this just to see what would happen. We did it as a training exercise we had a bunch of out of area handlers at a school we were hosting in the beach. We'd have the handler park, and depending upon the way their car was, nowadays the dogs are all in cages. Back then, some of them were open from the front seat to the back seat. But if they had a cage, we'd have them open the door and tell the dog to stay. And then he would go out, and somebody would fire a gun from the tree line. Wow. And he would fall down. And I'll ask you, what do you think the dog did? And it's a variety. There is probably no correct answer. I'll tell you the funniest one when we're done.
Either the dog just stood there or the dog fell down too.
Never had a dog fall down. Did have a lot of dogs just kind of confused. Most would get out and, they're looking at their handler. Mm-hmm. One came out and attacked his handler. But the all-time champion was the dog that was a Belgian Malinois. He hopped out of the back seat and ran up to the handler, sniffed him, hiked his leg on him, and marked him.
Nice.
the guy, after it's all over, the guy gets up and we're like, well, guess the dog told you what it thought of you.
Yep.
But there is no predicting. You know, we had a few dogs go out on a search and destroy mission looking for whoever did the shot. You know, we ultimately had to have the guy put a sleeve on and let the dog take the bite.
Yep.
But there's just no telling. But it was just amazing to me. And it goes back to that impression that people have about the dogs and, you know, how they can interact. The hard part is when I was doing demonstrations, and they're a huge part, you know, and before we started, we talked about my old department and how they had a nonprofit that raised money and such. So we did a lot of demonstrations, and A, it was for goodwill, but B, it was part of the, you know, this overall fundraising effort. And I know what my dog will do, but I can't guarantee what the kid will do.
Right.
You know, is the kid going to smack him in the nose, or you don't know. Right. So you always have to kind of plan for the worst in your head,
right?
You know, and you're waiting for something dumb to happen, and 99 times out of 100, nothing happens. The dog, you know, they pet the dog, they're happy, and we move on.
Yeah.
Some dogs are a little bit more aggressive, and the handlers, for safety, will put the dog in a muzzle.
Yes. Yeah.
But you know, trust me, getting smacked with that muzzle, there's a steel plate in the front of that muzzle. Getting smacked with the muzzle is no fun.
No.
I took a muzzle once in the ear, and it knocked me senseless for about 10 minutes. And that was another training exercise. We were trying to show the handler what would happen if you get into a fight with a suspect. Well, the dog's natural kind of packed instinct is to take out the weak link. And so you don't want it. The learning point was you don't want to be on the bottom in a fight. And if you are, don't release the dog out of the car, because you might now have two people or two individuals attacking you. And I did it with my dog, and we'd done it a number of times. And I was on top, and he just slammed into me, muzzle first, right in the ear, and just knocked me senseless. Some people would say that, you know, it was like that before, but it was, you know, being a dog handler is not always sunshine and roses.
I guess not, huh?
It's a tough job. I've got scars. You know, if you're going to be a handler, that means you're going to be the bad guy for the other guy.
Yeah.
And you got to be willing to take bites and take muzzle hits and hide up in trees. You learn a lot watching a dog from up in the tree, seeing how when he's searching for you and he's weaving back and forth, all of a sudden you'll see him hit the scent cone and his tail and nose go up, and he starts following that and kind of weaving into you. And next thing you know, you got this dog looking up at you barking, and you're up in the tree. And it's like, okay, now I got to get out.
Yeah.
But you know, being on the receiving end, the bad guy end, you learn a lot. It's amazing. It's like you see things that you when you're working the dog, you're concentrating on working him and doing things. But when you're on the other side, you can just watch the dog and see what he's doing.
I gotta ask you, you know, even though you put on the suit and you've got some chainmail between you and a dog's bite, there still has to be a bit of anxiety knowing that there's pounds of pressure behind that bite, and knowing that there's just that little bit between you and a dog. I mean, Can you tell me a little bit about what that anxiety feels like?
Well, the first time I did it, it was before I was a canine handler, and I had expressed to the canine unit that I was interested in being a handler. Well, when you kind of take on this role, when where you're trying to work your way into the unit, it's not mandatory, but you learn so much, and it helps you so that when you go in for the interview, you can say, well, I've got this experience. And I remember we'd searched a school in North Long Beach, and we didn't find anything. There was nothing there. Happens a lot. And the handler, friend of mine, Steve Zabel, and he had this big 120-pound Rottie. And that dog could bite and twist you and turn you. And I put the sleeve on, and I was at the end of the hallway, and he sent the dog, and I saw him coming, and it seemed like hours for that dog to get there. And it was a slippery linoleum floor, so you hear the dog's nails clicking and pulling, and finally he gets there, and I just fed him the sleeve, which is not the correct thing to do. But in that heightened sense of anxiety, I was like, oh my God. And then he got a hold of me, and I thought he was going to rip my arm out of the shoulder. They're just incredibly strong. When you're working, you move up in the sleeve. The sleeve gives you a lot of protection. It just covers the arm and a little bit of the upper. Mm-hmm. You move into like the full bite suit. Those don't have the rigidity, so you can move in them more naturally. It teaches the dog not just to bite arms, bite where you can bite. And when you get bit with one of those, you have to learn how to take a bite in that, because you get a bite, boom. You want to pull on it and slip the dog off of you and onto just the sleeve.
Okay.
So that, you're not getting that pressure, because you're right. I cracked the face of a Casio watch once with a dog on a suit. And, and that was through a pretty thick, heavy suit. We had a handler's course at one of these out of area training program. We had about 20 dogs there. And I was the duty bad guy, because I was, low man in the unit. Uh-huh. And I took about 20 bites, and I'd never really worked in a bite suit. I came back the next day, and the back of my arms along the triceps, purple from all the bites, and not knowing how to properly do it. By the time I took the 20th one, I knew what was going on, and to get the dog off of me and onto the suit.
Jeez.
But there's a whole technique. They have schools that just teach you how to do that stuff.
Wow.
I learned the hard way. I'm a little slow that way,
I guess you did, huh?
Yeah. Well, and then sometimes you just get unlucky. We used to wear like an undercover sleeve, because you don't want the dog just triggering on equipment.
Yeah.
You want the dog triggering on the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so I had this undercover sleeve on, and the handler said, hey, he's kind of keying on that. Why don't you tuck that one behind? Well, he took that movement as that was me attacking the handler.
Oh, okay.
And he got my good arm, this one.
Oh, no.
And I got him off. Basically what I did is I brought the other one around and kind of caught him under the chin and knocked him off and onto the one I wanted him on.
Okay.
But I had some, I've still got, you can't see him here.
Yeah.
But I've still got some pretty good scars
Jeez.
From that. And, most dog handlers are not the prettiest, overall, because you're going to get bit. It's going to happen. You just accept it.
You'll never be an arm model, is what you're saying. No. Yeah.
My future as an arm model has been ruined. I think in general, my future as a model is probably ruined. And, when our listeners go out and buy the book, there's a small picture there. I insisted on a very small photo because I didn't want anybody scared off by the picture of me.
As we start to wrap up here, Steve, let me ask you this. This is one question I've always wondered about humans and their relationship with animals. And you always see stories, not necessarily with dogs, but other animals where, and we have a segment coming up after this interview called Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. A lot of times people will do things like sneak into tiger cages, or they'll try to humanize animals that are just not, worth humanizing, I guess, is a good way of putting it.
But they're not too prone to accept it.
Right,
like
right.
The guy that thinks he's a bear trainer up in Alaska living with bears, and nobody hears from him for a while, and then all of a sudden they find scraps of his clothing.
There you go.
His camp.
Yeah, that's a good one. Last week we had a woman who tried to film herself or tried to film bison, and she ended up getting gored by a bison. Thinking she could just walk through a pack of bison. Do you think that we as humans tend to humanize animals a little too much, especially one who's worked with dogs most of his life? Do you think that we tend to give them too many human traits?
Yeah, it's the word anthropomorphize. We want to assign them, because we think this, and we do it with criminals too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would never do something like that. You see it with like kids, and you get some serial criminals. You see some pretty sick behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and then they look at this kid who's now all cleaned up in court, and I just can't believe he's capable of doing that. Yes, he is. Well, it's the same thing with wild animals or domesticated ones, dogs. They, at their heart and soul, are still dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and they can be our buddies. They'll snuggle up with you every night, but sometimes they just do strange things, and we can't account for it. And part of that is we put ourselves in the position to become a victim of our dog.
Mm-hmm.
I've never dealt with it because I have a very strong personality, and generally dogs don't try me much.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, my natural reaction is to just assert dominance and authority over them. I've had one or two, but it didn't last long.
Yeah.
And it's people say, "Oh, that's so cruel that you would do that," and it's like, well, it beats the other option, which is having to put the dog down because it's too aggressive.
Right.
But there are people out there that they do stuff like you're talking about, and they just think, oh, maybe you tell them, well, haven't you ever heard of this? Yeah, that only happens on TV. It would never happen to me. Another, what is it? Future Darwin Award winner.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in police work, you see a lot of dumb behavior that leads to their own victim. I actually wrote a paper on that once about people contributing to their own victimacy. The guy that leaves his keys in the ignition, that type of thing, and kind of segueing out into left field. I used to teach a class at the police academy, advanced officer training. And the class was based on a study, FBI officers killed in the line of duty study. Mm-hmm. And they went and talked to 47 or 49 murderers of police officers in the wide variety. So it's kind of difficult to draw any real conclusions about, from this. But in a number of cases, and they set this, the FBI people set this up so that the suspects are the criminals in this case, because they were all convicted. They'd all been gone through all their appeals, et cetera. So they really had nothing to lose by talking. And then the FBI agents would then really study up on their files so that they'd know if these guys were BSing them. So there were a number. It wasn't a high number, but it was a significant number where the suspect says, "Hey, it was not my intention that day to go out and kill a police officer. I was going to the liquor store. But something the officer did made him seem like a likely target to the suspect." And so he would ended up getting a confrontation and taking advantage of the situation. And people, some of the things these guys were saying, he never took control of the situation, which was, when I used to teach this stuff, was something that I always said. I said, everybody has their own style, their own technique. Some people yell. Some people, the lucky people are 6'6" and 240 have nothing but muscles. And so they're intimidating naturally. Mm-hmm. I said, but you have to be in control. And you don't have to be a jerk about it. Right. You don't have to call people names or abuse them, but you have to be in control, because if you're not in control, bad people will pick up on that and take advantage of it, and you'll end up dead. And I worked on my department's honor guard for 15 years. I buried a lot of people, not necessarily officers killed in line of duty. Most of them were. Mm-hmm. But I said, I don't want to bury anybody in this class. I'd go through the rest of my life without having to bury somebody if I could. Yeah. But it's a dangerous business. Yeah. So, be smart, listen to what I'm telling you, and don't make it more likely that you're going to end up getting hurt or killed.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. It's a tough world. It's tougher right now.
Absolutely. And it seems to be getting tougher every day, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can, it seems like the pendulum has swung about as far, against the police as it can. It seems like people are being more vocal about supporting officers and such.
Yes.
But, it's funny. When I first started, which is like a long time ago, we wore a bulletproof vest, but it was soft armor under a shirt. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, guys are out there dressed like they're in the military, wearing 20 pounds of plate armor. And it's not because they want to, it's because they feel they need to.
I would argue they almost have to.
Well, if I can guarantee you, if I were much younger and out working the streets, I'd be wearing it.
Yeah.
Because, that goes back to the argument, and here's the balance of politics. Politicians don't like that. Makes you look military. They don't want you to be an occupying army. But if you don't take care of the officers, if you don't protect them, you're not going to have anybody there at all.
That's the thing. I mean, well, the other night, again, I'm in Minneapolis here. The other night, we had a couple of cars driving around shooting off fireworks in downtown Minneapolis. I mean, if you're not armored up and you get hit with a mortar, how do you survive? I mean, I don't get that.
Part of me is very happy that I'm not having to work right now with the environment the way it is. Part of me wishes I could, because I'd like to be out there supporting, my brother and sister officers. But my time to do that kind of stuff is over with. And now I see my mission is to write entertaining stories that try to bring a little bit of that humanity to those people.
Yeah. So
that's the one thing I really wanted to do is tell the story of what it's like to be a cop without being preachy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny. One of my early readers said, I read the thing, I got, read through it, and you never got to the bad cop. It's like he was, what movie doesn't have a bad cop in it? And, I've certainly known and dealt with bad cops. They're out there, but they're a lot less than you think. It's kind of like what the Vietnam veterans went through for years. They had every Vietnam movie had the psycho soldier that went on a rampage. And, did that happen? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I wasn't in Vietnam. But there were a lot of other guys, because I know a lot of Vietnam vets that went through and did their job and came back and dealt with it. And they haven't done crazy things. So
yeah. Well, it's become such a stereotype, though, Steve. And I think it's, unfortunately, it's a negative stereotype that's been thrown out there.
Sure. It sells.
Yeah, it does sell. Yeah.
It sells. And unfortunately, people, it's like this one person. He just wasn't happy that there wasn't a bad cop, a crooked cop in the book.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not what the story's about.
Right.
I may at some point work one in.
Sure.
But as I described them in the book, the people that are doing this, and in the second book, the team will grow. Mm-hmm. It won't be just JW and Ben; it will be others. Mm-hmm. They're true believers. They believe in what they're doing, and they feel that it's right, and that they're helping people. If nothing else, they're helping people get justice.
There you go.
And I think that's one of the core meanings of it. When you really get down to it,
it's intriguing.
The dogs make it fun.
Yes, the dogs do make it fun, and it's intriguing, folks, because we're delving into the world of serial killers, and you've got dogs that are following trails and are on the trail of serial killers, and it only gets more exciting. So I encourage you to go check out Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins. It's available on Wild Blue Press. Steve Ditmars, I want to thank you very much for being with us today.
Pleasure Pleasure. I enjoyed it. This was a great conversation. I just feel like I sat back and had a conversation with a really interesting guy.
Yeah. Well,
and hopefully the audience enjoys. Listening to us banter back and forth. But I loved it. I could check this off of a bucket list thing, But if you ever in the future need somebody to chat with, I'd be more than happy to come back.
Well, you got another book, right? You got another book coming out.
I got 2 more.
Well, then
I got 2 more.
I know we're gonna have 2 more conversations then, right?
I look forward to it.
That's right. We got to hold something for next time.
Go Vikes.
Oh, look at you! I would say go Trojans, but you're gonna kill my Gophers coming up in the Big Ten.
I'm excited about the move to the Big Ten, whatever they're going to call it.
Well, it'll end up being the Big 20 because by the time you and UCLA come over, there's going to be 20 teams in the conference.
Well, you had to take the good with the bad. But I'm looking forward to it because, I've been in the Pac since it was the Pac-8.
Yeah.
And I love part of me is sad because you have these rivalries and stuff, but I'm excited for the new games. We'd see the Big Ten once a year at the Rose Bowl, and maybe every now and then we'd get an intersectional game or something. But this is exciting because there's so much talent in that league. There's
an old school rivalry I'm looking forward to from when I was a kid, and that's USC and Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. USC, Ohio State, USC, Michigan.
Yep.
Another big one.
Yep.
I'm hoping that Notre Dame will come in. Yep. Because, we play them regardless. We've been playing them forever, it seems like.
Yep.
And that's one of these games we have them coming up, I think, 3 weeks. And I'm like, they looked really good against Clemson. Before that, I was feeling pretty good about that game. And now I'm like, our offense is on fire this year. Our defense has been, challenged with some injuries and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I want to win that game so bad. I want to win them all. That's just my nature.
I think when you guys come in, the Gophers will never be bowl eligible again.
You never know.
Oh, I think I know. I think I know.
I refuse to say never.
Between that and the Gophers saying they're going to start playing Alabama in 10 years, they're never going to be bowl eligible again. They're going to be the school you play when you want to beat up people in the beginning of the season. That's going to be the Minnesota Gophers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in the at the end of a rather challenging period of time where last year we were 4-8. And this year we're playing well, but it's the offense that's driving things. This is going to take us a few years to really, bring in and develop all of the players we need to be competitive. So as much as I'm looking forward to it, I'm a little nervous about it too. Yeah. But I'm excited because there's nothing I like better than a good college football game.
Yeah. Yeah. College football's fun. It's fun. Yeah. That's for sure.
I enjoy the occasional pro, but college football it's the emotion of the players that makes it for me.
Yeah, very
much.
And
then I get mad and start screaming at the TV.
Yeah, I do too.
My wife worries I'm going to have a heart attack.
Well, I just had some congestive heart failure recently, but that's what you get when you follow the Gophers and the Vikings, my friend. That's what you get. Well, Steve Ditmars, I want to thank you so much. Again, Big Dogs, The Adventure Begins. It's out on Wild Blue Press, and we'll have links to the book on wildbluepress.com. Also, autographed copies. We'll have a link for that as well in the description of the show. Steve, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I had more fun than you can imagine.
Well, it was our pleasure, my friend. Folks, it's that time right now. We're going to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, that time you all look forward to. After we get done with the serious, we move into the funny. It's time for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. We can't do it without a co-host, and we do it with the co-host with the most, the BCB, the big cuddly bear himself. You know what? I found out there's a Heggy's Pizza that's also a BCB. It's a bacon, cheese, beef. But we don't call him that. We call him the Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser, how you doing?
I've been called bacon, cheese, and beef before. I've been called beefy. I've been called cheesy. I've been called bacony. I've been called it all.
Really? I
get beefy a lot from our not the LGBTQ community calls me beefy.
They don't just call you the bear; they call you beefy.
They call me a bear. They call me beefy.
Okay,
and I'm okay with it. I've talked to many of my friends in that what is that? Not environment, but that lifestyle. And they're like, nope, everything that they're saying to you is a positive thing. And I'm like, awesome, thank you. Yeah. I educated myself.
Thank you very much. That's right.
Yep.
It's better to.
And that's the thing is you got to educate yourself instead of getting angry or jumping out educate yourself.
Hey, it's better to be admired by somebody than nobody.
That's right.
That's right. You might as well take it while you can get it.
Bacon, cheese, and beef. You can't go wrong with that.
That's
you
right.
add beer in there, and you're just. That's a Saturday night for us.
That's the 4 B's right there.
Well, 3 B's and a C, unless it's beer cheese.
That's right. Oh my God, I'm so tired today. I missed the fact that one of those B's is a C.
We'll say it's beer cheese. How about that?
Okay, beer cheese. That's right.
Have you had beer cheese? Oh, it's so good.
Oh, I have, but I'm a little lactose intolerant, so.
That's right.
I have to take the 5th B, which is a lactate pill. Yeah, in order to get through that. Yeah. That's what I got to say about that. Yeah, I was at the old grocery store the other day, and I'm scooting along, and I see Heggy's Pizza I love me some Heggy's Pizza. I don't know if you're familiar.
I'm not familiar. That must be a Minnesota thing.
It is. Oh, I got to ship you one down. Along with the big care package I owe you. I owe you like a huge care package. But Heggy's Pizza has they're based in Malacca, Minnesota. And anytime you travel through Minnesota, through any bar in Minnesota, they have Heggy's Pizza behind the bar.
Then I've probably had it because I've been to many
bars,
Minnesota bars. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's
because I always complain about because in Minnesota, and this is guys, it's gonna be like 5-6 years ago. They have a law, I guess, where you're only allowed 2 pitchers of beer. Can only order 2 pitchers of beer at a time.
What? Really?
That's what I was told at the 2 particular bars, these establishments I went to. So I figured out a system where I'd go up, order the two pitchers, and then I'd send one of the students to go up to order the 2 pitchers, another student to go up, order 2 more pitchers, and then I'd go up again and be like, well, we just served you 2 pitchers. I said, well, yeah, I finished those. Like, well, aren't those guys with you? I said, well, they can order their own. Yeah. And that's how I get more than 2 pitchers of beer in me.
It's called two-fisting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People laugh because those little mini pitchers?
Yeah.
That's my glass for the night.
Well, yeah. I don't blame you. They're small.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're thirsty. You've been working.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to hydrate.
Exactly.
Yeah. I get it.
But I've ordered pizza from there. In fact, in Chanhassen, I was told you got to try the pizza here. It's amazing. So
okay, so you might have been at a place because some bars and restaurants do their own pizza. So they might have had if you were in Chan, they had their own. They're kind of ritzy. They do their own pizza.
Oh, really? Okay.
But if you kind of go to one of the further out, you're out in the sticks.
Yeah.
They kind of throw the if you have those little pizza ovens.
Okay, so yes, I've had that.
Okay.
My buddy Mason Quinn, we were closer to the Hudson side of Minnesota, so Hudson, Wisconsin. You know what I mean out there.
Yep.
Right by the big bridge there.
Yep.
We're on the Minnesota side of the bridge.
Yeah,
they'll at a hole in the wall bar.
Yep, they'll throw Heggy's in, it's either Tombstone or Heggy's, one or the other.
Yeah, all I know is it was really good because they had that cornmeal on the crust. Oh, and that's what I like.
Well, I don't know if Heggy's has cornmeal. They might. I'm trying.
I just remember that. Like that's my favorite kind of pizza crust when you put the cornmeal in there.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, I picked up a Heggy's the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't been doing pizza very often since the heart thing.
I haven't either.
But I picked one up the other day because I was kind of craving one. But I picked up just a sausage pepperoni, and then I added mushroom.
Oh, you gotta have mushroom.
Yeah. But it was pretty. It was so good. Haggis is so good because they pile on, and it's real mozzarella. So it's so good.
I love that real fresh mozzarella.
Yeah.
So it's wet looking, and they put it on there. Oh, so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Haggis, they're getting their money's worth today. Boy, they don't pay a dime for advertising, but man, they're getting their deal. So yeah, if you're in the store and they carry it in your frozen section, it's Heggie, Haggis.
I think this weekend I'm on a show with a guy from Minnesota. I'll have to text him and say, hey, bring me a Haggis pizza.
Yeah,
'Cause
do that.
He drives in, so.
Yeah, do that. See if he'll bring you one.
Yeah, because I'm flying and he's driving. He can bring me.
Where are you this weekend?
I am in Junction City, Kansas.
Okay.
And then Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, that's right. You're doing the Kansas and Missouri deal.
I'm super excited, too, because going to have some barbecue, obviously.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're in the land of barbecue this weekend.
And then my buddy Craig owns his own winery.
Oh.
And he makes a mead. It's a killer honey mead.
Man.
Oh, so good. And he's gotten into distilling, so he's got a real good whiskey. And he's going to bring me a couple bottles of that. And
Man.
yeah.
Man, it's good.
I'm going to have a good time this weekend. I'm full of barbecue, whiskey, and beer.
Not only that, but you're fighting for a championship this weekend, too.
Both nights.
Yeah.
The second night now is announced as a championship also.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, you're on top of the world.
I am. That's why I haven't had pizza. I've been trying to cut a little bit of weight. The weights for the WrestleCade weekend, which is coming up, which you and I have discussed. If you're a wrestling fan at all, this is the weekend to go. And there's 4 shows that weekend that I'm on. And there's an all-women show. There's an Impact Wrestling show going on. And autograph signing. So I'm trying to get in the most Beer Cityest bruiser-looking body I can. Nice.
Yeah, so WrestleCade. Remember that, folks. In fact, I got to put something on the website about that, too. DarknessRadioShow.com if you're looking for Bruiser's appearances in the event section. Yeah, WrestleCade is coming up. Even
if you're not a wrestling fan, come on by and at least say hi. Let me know, that you're a fan of the Cruiser and the Bruiser, and we'll sit and talk paranormal. We'll sit and talk true crime. We don't have to talk wrestling.
That's true. Yeah.
I love when our fans. I have a couple fans. One fan actually of our Supernatural News show. Actually, in the Junction City show, he lives a block away from the building.
Really?
And he heard us talking about it. So he's like, why not come down and say hi? So he's going to come down and say hi. And
very nice.
Yeah. So I love meeting the listeners.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, Junction City and Springfield is what you said?
That's right. Junction City, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri.
All right. So go out and see Bruiser this weekend if you're in the area, and bring him plenty of ribs, brisket, whatever you got.
Or beer. I'll have a beer with you.
Or beer. Bring him alcohol and meat this weekend. He's requesting alcohol and meat. Just want to see how much we can pile up on you for the trip home.
I need a rider. That's just give me a rider. Alcohol and meat.
Alcohol and meat.
Bands have weird things. Like didn't one of the bands have only brown M&Ms or something like that?
Yep.
Like the Stones have a really weird one, and Zeppelin had a really weird.
Yep.
Mine's just alcohol and meat.
no less than a pound or a liter.
Yes.
That's right. Yep. That's what you got to put in your contract. Dumb crime, stupid criminals today. Boy, does it get dumb. Boy, does it get stupid. And at the end, boy, are we getting stupidly sexy. That's what we're doing today. Yeah. You're not safe for work stories today are just stupidly sexy.
Which are great, especially when they're idiots.
Yeah. We're getting idiotic today all the way through, but really at the end of the program today. So put the kids away, put the dogs away, put everybody away. Especially your boss if you're listening at work towards the end of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. We're starting off in your neck of the woods, sir. We're going to North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Where a man allegedly tried to rob a bank using a note written on his pay stub.
That's not smart. I think they're going to know where you're at.
Yeah, you probably want to use a different piece of paper. We go to Fayetteville, where a 43-year-old man, he should know better. He's old enough to know better. Was taken.
I was gonna say, if it's a 20, 21-year-old, I get it because everything's electronic nowadays.
Yeah.
But 44, like we all know that you have to. We're used to paper checks where you have to write your name on the back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I know the stub really doesn't have much use anymore, but don't hand it over to the teller and say, "Give me all your money," because they're gonna hold on to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called evidence.
It is, yeah. You might as well just take and let some blood out on the counter and give them your DNA as well. Let them
Just
find
handcuff yourself and put yourself in the back of the police car.
Yeah, you might as well do the work for them. 43-year-old man was taken into custody after he allegedly robbed a bank and wrote a note on the back of his pay stub demanding money. According to the Fayetteville police, on Tuesday, November 1st at 12:30 p.m., he did it over his lunch hour. Officers were called to the PNC Bank on Ramsey Street for a bank robbery. During their investigation, Fayetteville police learned that Dennis Wayne Price Jr. Allegedly walked up to a teller window, and I'm getting the vernacular down there. And,
I was gonna say, you sound like you're from Fayetteville now.
Well, you know, I'm practicing for when I come to visit.
You gonna go wash your car too?
I'm gonna wash my car out there, and I'm gonna get the windows real shiny. He pulled up to a teller window and passed the teller a note, which was reportedly written on his pay stub. The teller reportedly declined his demand after reading the note, but Price allegedly demanded the money, and the teller placed an undisclosed amount of cash into the envelope. Price reportedly left the bank and departed the scene in a Toyota Camry, which was being driven with unauthorized use.
Did he go back to work, do you think?
I think he did. Yeah. I think he...
How do you think that conversation went? He slipped a piece of paper. The teller went, "Yeah, no, not doing this." And he went, "No, please, come on."
Yeah,
and she went,
"Come on.
No, not doing this."
Don't make me look bad, ma'am. Can you just go ahead and just give me a little bit? Just
come on, my street cred's on the line.
Make half a drawer, quarter drawer, whatever you got. You know, just,
quickly, I have to get back to work.
Just give me your ones. I mean, just whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be the 20s or the 10s. Just give me the 5s and the 1s. Will be good. Prior to heading to PNC Bank, Price allegedly went to the Lumbee Guarantee Bank and passed a note at the drive-through lane where he demanded money. Really? Did he think that was going to work?
A drive-through robbery. It's never been done before. There's a reason why.
Yeah, because they can go, nah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Run your car into here?
Yeah, really. Give her a shot, big boy.
Go ahead. Pull a gun on the bulletproof glass.
Yeah. Guess what? This is all bricks and bulletproof glass. See how far you get. The teller reportedly refused to give him any, and he drove off.
Well, of course he did.
Yeah.
Do you think he was mad at the teller himself for thinking it would work?
He's got to just be mad at himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the epitome of stupid criminal right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Driving.
So he didn't realize he had wrote it on his pay stub the first time. He was so flustered because they said no that he didn't even look at what he wrote his note on.
No. North Carolina State Police located Price in Robeson County, North Carolina, and initiated a traffic stop. He was taken into custody without incident, of course, because the guy was going to die of embarrassment anyways on the side of the road. According to WBTW TV, Price was booked into the Robeson County Detention Center and was being held on $250,000 bond. Dude.
That's a great way to start this episode.
And you tell me, this guy doesn't look like he's operating with all the lights on, does he?
No. Oh, no.
No, not at all.
No, that's a picture right there of, man, I really am stupid.
He looks like he doesn't know how to spell the Q in IQ.
This reminds me of a time that when my brother was younger, he had a Chrysler LeBaron. You know, those old convertibles? Get a green one? Mm-hmm. And one night we were all sleeping, and there's a knock on the door, and it's the police. And they say, yeah, we're looking for and they said his name. My mother's like, well, no, he's downstairs in the basement sleeping. And the officer goes, "Are you sure? Like, you sure he hasn't been driving it all the night?" And they're like, she's like, "No, he's been downstairs sleeping the whole time." They're like, "Are you sure he hasn't gone driving through cornfields?" And she's like, no, let me call him up. So she calls him up. And the officer's like, what have you been doing tonight? And he's like, "Oh, I've been sleeping." And the officer goes, "No Joe riding through some cornfields, destroying some farms?" My brother's like, "No, sir." And the officer goes, "Well, do you drive a Chrysler LeBaron?" And my brother's like, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Is this your license plate?" And he holds up the license plate. So I guess my brother snuck out, just to go joyride, and drove through a bunch of cornfields, destroying all these crops. Came back, his front license plate had fallen off. So the officer and him go out to look at his car, and the whole front end of his car is covered in corn stalks.
Oh my God.
And my mom still denied that it was him. I'm like, "How much proof do you need, Mom?"
Oh my, holy
They
obvious.
held his front license plate up.
Oh my God. That's horrible.
My dad says, "You might as well just jump in the backseat of that car because you're not getting out of this."
Yeah, you might as well just go take the ride with the nice officer. I was having dinner with a good buddy last night, and he told me a funny story about a store he works at. I won't mention the store, but they were being robbed one night, and not one but two clerks actually blew off the robber. Guy comes in and he has a gun bruiser.
Okay.
He walks up and he says to the first clerk, a female, "Give me all your money and give me all the Newport 100s you have." And she looks at him, and no, I'm not disparaging blondes, but she looks at him and laughs and goes, "Whatever," and she walks away. And then she gets on her headset and goes, "Will someone come up and help this customer? I have no idea what he wants."
Okay.
Right? But she walks away from the guy.
Yeah.
So this guy comes up to the counter because there's two people on duty.
Yeah.
And the guy comes up and goes, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you with something?" And at this point, he's kind of befuddled because he's just held a gun up to this clerk and asked for all the money in the Newport 100s. And he goes, holds the gun up again and goes, "Yeah." At this point, he doesn't even ask for the money. He just says, "Give me all your Newport 100s. And the guy goes, "Yeah, can I see some ID?" And he goes, "You want to see what?"
"We've got to make sure you're 18.
He goes, "Well, I can't sell you any cigarettes, sir, unless I see your ID." He goes, "Sell me cigarettes?" He goes, "Yeah, I need to see some ID." And the guy just looks at him and goes, "Oh, whatever." And the robber left the store.
Well, yeah.
So my buddy comes in about an hour later, and there's cops everywhere.
Yeah.
These cops are interviewing these two workers. And they first of all, these two are getting a lecture like you wouldn't believe about how they probably should never do this ever again.
Yeah.
Because they both could have been shot.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
Right. And not to be screwing around with anybody with a gun. And they're like, "We weren't screwing around.
We're following the law, officer.
Right.
We needed to see ID."
One, we didn't know what it was he wanted. And two, we need to see ID if he wants cigarettes.
There was one time I was working at, I know we got stories, but this is funny too, is Hollywood Video was closing down, and my sister was a manager and she needed some help. So Mrs. Bruiser and I decided, "Yeah, we'll help you. We'll take some shifts on." Growing up, my parents owned a video store, so I knew how it worked. And it's my sister, myself, and Mrs. Bruiser. Mrs. Bruiser's not on duty. She's just there visiting. And my sister and I just said, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we duct tape Mrs. Bruiser to the spinning chair? We're bored, right?" So we take duct tape and we wrap it around her, and we, we're laughing and all this. And this lady comes walking in.
Oh, no.
And she puts her movie on the counter, puts her hands up in the air and goes, "I can't deal with this again," and leaves.
Oh, no.
About 10 minutes later, the cops show up and they're curious what's going on. We're explaining and all that. And then it hits us. Before she left, she said, "I can't deal with this Again.
Yeah. Oh, no.
What kind of life is this lady walking into?
Oh, that poor woman. Oh. She probably has PTSD from a former robbery.
Probably. We didn't know.
It's too good. It's too good. Oh, well, I got to ask you, Bruiser, do you and Mrs. Bruiser have any taxidermy laying around the house?
No, we don't. That's creepy.
Would you like some?
No, I wouldn't.
Well, if you would, I mean, there's going to come a time where someday my Charcot foot may need to come off. A nurse cut off a dying man's foot without permission for a taxidermy display.
Oh, okay. You kind of need permission to do that.
You may need a little. That's why I'm kind of giving my permission in case you need some a conversation piece around the house.
Does the display case now have to say donor unknown?
I guess. I don't know. We are going to your old home state of Wisconsin for this one.
Well, of course we are.
Of course, because when you need odd conversation pieces, why not go to the home of Ed Gein?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wisconsin hospice nurse has been charged with amputating the frostbitten foot of a dying man without his permission in order to preserve it for a sick display in her family's taxidermy shop.
I don't think it's legal to taxidermy human body parts, is it?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's she trying to sell? The black market?
Or the black foot, one or the other. 38-year-old Mary Kay Brown allegedly hacked off the victim's right foot without his okay or a doctor's permission on May 27th and told a fellow nurse she intended to exhibit it with a sign saying, "Wear your boots, kids."
Oh, she's got a sense of humor about it.
I guess. That according to a criminal complaint obtained by WQO. No, is that WQOW? I guess it is. The victim has been admitted to the Valley Health and Rehab Center in Spring Valley. That was back in March with severe frostbite on both feet. By the end of May, doctors were sure that he was close to dying, and witnesses said his foot was necrotic and only held to the rest of his leg by dead skin and tendons. That according to the complaint.
You know what would work better? A Polaroid.
Yeah.
Take a Polaroid, hang it up.
Yeah.
Make a poster.
Let me give you one of these. There you go. A nurse who was present when Brown allegedly chopped off the man's foot on May 27th reported that the patient clenched her hand tightly and was moaning during the procedure.
Well, yeah. The lady was pulling on his leg.
Following the amputation, the man told another nurse that he had felt everything and was in agonizing pain.
Oh, she didn't use anesthesia?
Son of a bitch. She just swung with a cleaver.
He's close to dying.
Brown allegedly told police that she cut off the man's foot in order to make him more comfortable. She said that it is what she would have wanted if she were in his position. Well, maybe it wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah, it's called asking.
Yeah. It's not.
If we'd learned anything in the pandemic, it's ask permission.
Yes. Yeah.
Before you do anything, ask consent.
Oh. It's not clear if or when the victim died. Administrator and CEO of Spring Valley Senior Living and Healthcare, Kevin Larson, told WQOW in an article published Friday that Brown is no longer employed with the facility. Probably a good thing.
Yeah, and they might want to check the paperwork that he's actually dead. He might have just passed out, and they're like, he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah,
he's dead.
He's dead. We have and will continue to fully cooperate with the investigation into the matter. The person identified as not employed with our community, it went on to say. Brown of Durand. By the way, I did radio in Durand. I've been privileged to do radio in that community. Was charged with physical abuse of an elder person, intentionally causing great bodily harm and mayhem, to say the least. She's expected to appear in court on December 6th, the outlet reported. If convicted, each charge carries a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison.
Oh, good. She's going to be pulling legs in prison.
By the way, don't go eat the local booyah in Durand. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like we were driving in the Tennessee Hills, the Appalachian Mountains here, and they have a barbecue place next to a graveyard. And Mrs. Brewster goes, "Why would you eat barbecue there?" I said, "Well, they get their meat somewhere."
No, thank you.
And taxidermy is a big thing in Wisconsin, so
Yeah, it is.
she's just thinking like advertising, like, "Hey, I'm going to help these hunters out."
Wisconsin, the state where anything can get stuffed. Thank you. We go to Rome, Georgia, where a Rome man is jailed for selling a borrowed car.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, make a few bucks. Why not?
Exactly.
They'll return it eventually.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
That's right.
That's what Johnny Wesley Highfield was led to believe. He's 62 years old, so he should know. Don't elders know everything?
Oh, they should.
Well, you would think. He was arrested this week after a report said he borrowed a vehicle and then sold it to another person. A report said that Highfield borrowed the vehicle back on August 24th and then sold it for, guess how much, Bruiser?
$8,000.
Oh, no. Try again.
$400.
Oh, you're close.
$200.
No, sir. $100 the same day. He needed meth money, evidently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
His buddy's like, "Hey, you know that car I lent you? Yeah. Give me a few months. I'll get it back. I still got some errands to run."
$100.
You know, there's what's that saying? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Mm-hmm. The person buying that car, guess what? It's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. Highfield is charged with 2 counts, theft by deception and probation violation. Who'd have thought that guy was on probation?
No, never.
Never.
At least this time you say it wasn't stolen.
True.
You know, and the person that bought it didn't buy or receive stolen goods.
True. True.
Silver lining.
Silver lining. I'm going to change the name of the segment real quick to Dumb Crime, Stupid Cops.
Okay.
Just for this one story.
Okay.
All right. A female officer was shot during police training in Fort Worth.
That happens.
It can happen. Police say the officer is in critical but stable condition as of Saturday afternoon. We go to Fort Worth, Texas, where we don't practice at the station.
No.
We don't practice
you
there.
You go to some place to practice.
Yeah.
They usually have grounds for that, training grounds.
Yeah, training grounds. You know, like Quantico.
And they usually don't use live ammunition.
No.
It's usually paintballs. You and I were talking about that off the air. It's usually paintballs.
Yeah, but not in Fort Worth.
Not in Texas.
Nope. We take it to an elementary school and we use live rounds.
God, guns and whatever.
That's right. We go to Fort Worth, Texas, where a Sansom Park officer was shot during a police training exercise at a Fort Worth elementary school and is in critical condition. You heard that right.
Why are they doing shooting exercises at an elementary school?
Because you know what they say, you can't build muscle without exercise, Bruiser.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. While the officer is still in critical condition, Everman Police Chief Craig Spencer, on behalf of Forest Hills Police Chief Eddie Burns, said the officer is now stable. Well, thank God for that.
Yes.
The training was held at a Fort Worth ISD school, David K. Sellers Elementary, where a police training was being held involving the Fort Hill and Sansom police departments. This is a truly tragic situation. What, did they line up and shoot at each other?
Yeah, hopefully the school was evacuated and wasn't in session.
Maybe they had the kids hide under their desk. Who knows? This is
I've heard of active shooter drills, but this takes it to a whole new level.
Oh, no. Spencer said the training was conducted by a third party who provided the training supplies and weapons, but denied to name the party when while the investigation is ongoing. He added that there was not live fire training planned for the day, and it's unclear how a weapon was introduced. Probably, hey, how you doing? Pleased to meet you. Here's a weapon.
They were feeling it out, and they're all like, you know what? Today feels like a live ammunition day.
That's right. Who wants to shoot live ammo?
Screw rubber bullets, screw paintballs.
Yeah.
You want to be a man? You want to be a Texan?
Who wants the feel of the steel? The quote here is, the training provider is the one that provided the weapon, Spencer said, and this was not a live fire training. That's all I know. How a weapon was introduced, we don't know. And that's what we're hopeful the investigation will turn over. The officer
Somebody forgot to tell the training guy that it's not a live ammunition.
Yeah. It says the officer was shot with a live round, he said, but it's not yet known how that happened. I can confirm that we don't ever use live ammunition in any sort of exercise, Spencer said. That's not common for law enforcement. Spencer said he is unsure if the person who fired the weapon has been placed on administrative leave, but that there is going to be an interview investigation. No one else was hurt aside from the female officer, police said. Oh, sure, shoot the lady, why don't you?
Yeah.
Police say the training was a school-based active shooter training. I told you.
Yeah, you're right.
See, scare all the kids on top of it. Sansom Park police have not commented on the shooting at this time.
Do you think their response would be, oops?
God. Probably.
Our bad.
We're sorry. You know, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the cannabis fields.
Well, that's good.
That's what I hear. Because evidently the crops are huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Police over there have claimed the largest seizure ever. And when by seizure, I mean they dropped to the floor and couldn't believe how much cannabis was there.
I find it funny that when cannabis was illegal and they find these fields, their way of disposal was burning them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know, one of the books that oh my God, I hit puberty there. I hit puberty by the amount of cannabis that was in Spain. One of the books that, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember which one it was that I've read within the last, one of the guests we featured in the last couple of months was talking about one of the first big cannabis burns that they did in the United States. And they heaped tons of cannabis in this ditch.
Yeah.
And then they poured, it was like diesel fuel on it. And then they lit it on fire. And they had brought like 4 inmates from the local jail to try and manage this burn. Well, the inmates got so high that they started to walk towards the fire. Because they kept trying to...
They get really hungry?
Yeah, they're trying to inhale more smoke because they were getting higher and higher. Finally, they grabbed the inmates and threw them in the truck or in the van to bring them back to the prison because it was just too much. They were going to kill themselves.
They just want to go to sleep now.
Yeah. Well, not even that. They just wanted to get higher and higher. And they were a danger to themselves. They're going to walk right into the fire.
Yeah, they're getting the munchies. They were hungry. They want to get more high.
But what was funny was, it was the narcotics guy. What was his name? Gosh, I wish I could remember. Somebody in our audience will remember this. But then later on, he ends up getting dealt some of this diesel fuel soaked weed because they couldn't burn they couldn't burn down this entire huge pile of cannabis because it got so hot and so bright that they had to put it out.
Really?
Because it became a danger. It was just burning too big. Yeah. So they eventually had to put it out because it was becoming a fire hazard.
Right.
So there was still some left. Some of this. Oh no, that wasn't what it was. I think eventually the river. It was a riverbed is where they had burned it, and the river came up eventually, and kind of took some of this cannabis downstream. So there was a little bit of this cannabis left that was diesel soaked. I think maybe I'm telling the story wrong, but there was still some of this cannabis left that was diesel soaked, and people could gather it. And this guy had gathered it, and he was selling it, but he was selling it out of a paper bag, and nobody ever sells weed out of a paper bag.
Right.
So this guy was asking, well, why are you selling this weed out of a paper bag? And he goes, well, it's kind of different kind of weed. That's why, but I'm selling it really cheap. And he figured it out that it was diesel soaked. It was the same stuff that they had tried to burn.
So if someone tried to light that up, they would have lit their face on fire.
No, because it had soaked into the weed. It wasn't
okay. So the weed just would have burned brighter and hotter.
A little bit. I don't even think it was potent anymore. It just smelled funny. It just smelled like diesel. So.
Whoever got water from that river, though, had to have a good time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. So we go to Spain, where police claim they've got the largest ever seizure in Spain's history. The largest haul of cannabis ever found has been discovered in a series of raids across Spain, police say. Authorities say they've seized more than 32 tons of the drug, which has an estimated street value of more than 57 million pounds.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Police said they arrested 9 men and 11 women ages 20 to 59 in busts across Spain. The Guardia Civil said the complex business network, is what they're calling it, was exporting the drugs across Europe. The weight of the seized plants is roughly equivalent to more than 5 adult African elephants.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cannabis.
That's a lot of weed.
That's a party and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think you could get most of Europe high with that much.
Oh, yeah.
The gang were arrested following raids in Toledo, Ciudad Real, Valencia, and is that Asturias? I need these bifocals changed. I got a new prescription. Asturias, that's what it is, last month, but the details of Operation Gardens were only made public on Saturday. Police said the business was run by different companies, in quotes, which carried out the different parts of the process, from buying the seeds to growing and drying the plants to packaging them and shipping them out. The Civil Guard has seized the largest cache of packaged marijuana found so far, a police statement said. It was equivalent to approximately 1.1 million plants.
That is a lot of plants.
That's a lot of weed.
I didn't know it was illegal in Spain.
I didn't know that either.
I thought it was pretty much legal everywhere but Japan and some states in America.
Yeah.
Because Japanese, you get very punished.
Oh, yeah. Ask Paul McCartney. He'll tell you. We go now to a man who has learned his lesson. I don't think he needs jail.
No?
Nope.
You think he's learned his lesson enough that he can just walk free?
He got his punishment the minute he tried to leave the store after shoplifting.
Okay.
I'll tell you how, Bruiser. A man has knocked himself out trying to flee the store with luxury stolen goods.
You think he remembers he tried to steal something? He just woke up like, where am I?
He got the Friday treatment. He got knocked the F out. A Washington man was caught on video running into a plate glass window as he attempted to get away with luxury stolen goods.
Those are some of my favorite videos to watch of like ridiculousness or like those comedy shows. Someone like just walking and there's a glass.
He knocked himself unconscious.
That means he was fleeing. He was ready to go.
Top speed.
He had a perfect plan in his head. He's like, I'm going to grab and I'm going to run as hard as I can out the front door. Didn't factor in that you have to open the front door. He just thought, hey, I can go.
Let me see if this plays back again. It played back once. Let's see. Is it going to play again? Nope. Went to a different video. The brazen robbery, it says here, the brazen robbery happened in broad daylight at a Louis Vuitton store in Bellevue, according to KOMO News. The 17-year-old suspect, oh my gosh, he's young and dumb.
Yeah.
Grabbed handbags worth $18,000 off displays and tried to dart out of the store, according to police. However, the suspect appeared to run into trouble when he knocked himself out by running into a plate glass window. Prosecutors said the 17-year-old, whose name was not released because he's a juvenile and he's stupid, was part of a retail crime theft ring, according to the outlet. More than 50 repeat offenders have been arrested in Bellevue for retail robbery and shoplifting, according to the report. The
gang name is called the Knockouts. I don't know if you knew that.
No, come on. The county has charged 59 organized retail theft cases so far this year.
This kid mistook. He thought the gang wanted him to play the knockout game, not steal. Yeah, he was just mistaken.
Yeah, no, that's not it at all, Bruiser. I was trying to see if I could get the video back up, but evidently not. They want to play me something else. Because the video of him running into the plate glass window is actually hysterical.
Like I said, that's one of my favorite things. Besides pet videos or babies throwing up on people, is people running into glass and like either it shatters or they fall down or whatever.
Because this kid, I mean, he drops like a stone. He absolutely.
Like I said, you think he woke up and went, well, "Where am I? What am I doing here?"
Oh, he doesn't wake up right away. He's just boom, and he's down. He is down. He is down.
And security probably was laughing so hard they forgot to go check on him. Like, oh wait, we should probably make sure he's okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. We're getting into the vehicle section of almost said supernatural news of dumb crime, stupid criminals. Supernatural news, by the way, is tomorrow. I'll get my show straight after all. This may sound like we've gotten to the sexy part of the show, but we haven't when I read the headline. Are you ready for this?
So this is just a tease to the sexy.
That's right. This is a tease to the sexy.
This is the foreplay before the sexy.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. A thong-wearing woman survives a camel toe incident. Or accident, rather.
I hope to God she gets kicked by a camel, and that's what the camel toe is.
Let me try this again. A thong-wearing woman survives a camel toe accident. Again, we go to Wisconsin.
Oh, of course.
On hump day, flip-flops triggered an auto crash in Wisconsin, according to police, who reported that one of the vehicles involved was hauling a camel.
I know of one place that has a camel. That's not a zoo.
Okay.
And the only reason I know that is because every time we drive someplace with my father-in-law, he'd always point out the camel.
Okay.
So if I'm thinking correct, I'm just going to pretend it's the people that live at this farm that are hauling the camel.
It could be. When I first saw the headline of this story, I thought it was in St. Paul because I think it's St. Paul that has camel towing. There's actually a tow truck company that's camel towing.
That is an amazing name for a towing company.
And yes, they sell shirts.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's like there's a show on A&E about tow truck drivers, and one of them it's an all-female thing, and they're called pink hookers. Yeah, I love it. So creative.
Yeah. So the accident Wednesday was caused when 28-year-old Kelly Ellison, a Milwaukee woman, was wearing flip-flops and somehow got her footwear caught and was unable to stop at the stop sign. Her auto was then hit by a pickup truck pulling a trailer containing a camel named Eli.
This is a camel I know. I know this camel.
You know the camel?
I know. This is the camel my father-in-law always pointed out.
Okay. In a press release from the Caledonia Police Department, reports that Ellison and her 3-year-old child were not injured in the crash. However, the other driver, whose truck went into a ditch, suffered leg and back injuries. The camel, a resident of Jodon Farms, survived the accident unscathed and will return to work giving small children rides on its back.
Good. Glad the camel's okay.
So rest assured.
Where does the thong come in?
Well,
there's flip-flops. That's
thongs.
right. Flip-flops.
Remember?
Yeah, you're right. I forgot those are called thongs.
Yeah, that's back before we all lost our sexy minds and started calling thongs and flip-flops. Yeah, so there you go.
That's why you don't drive with thongs?
Yeah, exactly.
I was taught that in driver's ed. We were taught don't drive barefoot and don't drive with flip-flops.
That's right. That's why you don't.
And I also remember my parents pounding in my head, you never turn on the dome light while you're driving.
That's right, because it'll blind you.
But it's not a law. They always said it was a law, and it's not a law.
No, it's not a law. That's right. That's right. More car stories if you're ready for this. This one, a bizarre car story.
Okay.
This one is going to make you shake your head.
Like the other one didn't.
The other one was just, as you said, foreplay to this car story. We go to Ohio, where an Ohio woman steals a car while a driver is being arrested.
Well, that's the right time to do it. The cop's busy.
Right, but it gets better. It gets better, Bruiser. An Ohio woman was hit with 7 felony charges.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, after police said she stole a vehicle during another driver's traffic stop, leading officers on a high-speed half-hour chase. She had nothing better to do that afternoon.
It was on her bucket list.
Right. 25-year-old Hannah Warren was arrested over the incident last weekend, which kicked off as she approached officers serving an active warrant on Kevin McDonald, the driver of a Nissan SUV in Buckdale, Ohio. She was warned to stay away from the scene twice, according to a police officer obtained by WCHS, but climbed into the driver's seat as McDonald was being led over to a patrol car. Warren then sped off. The Athens County Prosecutor's Office has said officers followed her for roughly 30 minutes before Warren eventually crashed the SUV into one of their squad cars. Warren attempted to flee on foot, but was tased and taken into custody. She's one tough woman.
Yes.
She told officers she was carrying drugs in her backpack and narcotics and syringes. She's a party girl. One which contained methamphetamine. She loves all drugs. Were subsequently discovered by police, they said in their report. Warren is scheduled to appear in court on Monday morning.
I feel bad for the guy whose car it was, because think about this. He left his home, and maybe he's going to, I don't know, he's going grocery shopping, gets pulled over, finds out he has a bench warrant. Okay, that's a bad day, as is. Then as he's being led back, he sees his car being stolen. His pride and joy is being stolen.
Right.
Now he has to sit in the back seat of the car while they're chasing your car that was stolen, and you have to watch it get into an accident, possibly totaling your car. And there's nothing you can do about it because you still got to go to jail.
Yeah. But wait, Bruiser, there's more.
No. There's more than that?
There's a Utah man that says, "Hold my beer." I can do one better.
Okay.
That Ohio woman had nothing on this Utah man who was upset over his canceled flight and carjacked multiple vehicles.
He had to get home, man.
And caused a bunch of crashes.
Okay, so he crashed each one. All right.
Yeah. This is like a I got to get home for Christmas type deal.
Yeah, this is planes, trains, and automobiles if I've ever heard it.
That's right. A 20-year-old man in Salt Lake City went on a carjacking spree and crashed into multiple vehicles on Friday after getting upset over a canceled flight to Denver, Colorado. No one's ever been that upset in their life.
No.
Never.
Flights get canceled. And you know what? I know the Denver airport is a place to visit because of all the conspiracy theories. But you know what? Catch another flight, dude.
That's right. Yeah. It's not that tough these days.
No.
There's
apps for it.
There is. There's an app for that. But, you know.
I've been watching a lot of Amazing Race. They have no problems getting flights.
No, they don't. But they also have assistants on the program that can help them with that stuff.
I pretend they don't.
Okay.
It makes it more exciting for me.
That's true. John Joseph Thomas Green or John Joseph Jingleheimer Schmidt, as we like to call him.
His name is my name too.
It is, yeah. Became upset with an employee at a ticket counter at Salt Lake City International Airport after being told he could not buy a same-day ticket to Denver, and later caused a disruption at the airport over a flight cancellation. This according to the Salt Lake City Police Department. When police responded around 5 a.m., officers learned Green allegedly forced a driver out of an SUV and sped away from the airport. Green crashed the SUV into a silver car before making a U-turn and smashing it into a white BMW SUV, because SUVs should meet and kiss whenever they see each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know the BMW one's got good insurance.
Right. Green crashed the SUV into a silver car before making... I read that there's more. This browser keeps jumping. Green exited the SUV and allegedly tried multiple times to force the female driver out of the BMW, but police said she fought back and that her seatbelt stopped Green from pulling her out. After the unsuccessful carjacking, Green jumped back into the SUV he allegedly stole from the airport and drove towards South Salt Lake. Police said he struck another car and nearly hit a building.
The theme today is people not giving up.
That's right.
We've had cashiers say no. We've had tellers say no. No, this lady's like, no, you ain't getting me out of my car.
What sports star was it that said, don't give up, don't ever give up? Was that, no, that was Jim Valvano, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Valvano?
Yep.
Yep. Jim Valvano said, don't give up, don't ever give up. Following the crash, police said Green again ditched the SUV, carjacked a Dodge Durango. It's a Hemi. And crashed into...
He likes his SUVs.
He does. And then crashed into 5 vehicles on I-80. This man...
Yeah, you might want to stop getting into SUVs. You can't control them very well.
You might want to stop at an optometrist and have your eyes checked. I'm just saying. Investigators were working to determine whether Green used a firearm during this carjacking.
Oh, they don't know?
Oh.
Okay.
When deputies caught up with Green, authorities say they heard him throwing rocks at vehicles along I-80.
Hey, over here. Hey, over here.
To get one to stop, and spotted him actively trying to carjack a 4th vehicle, which was a Toyota Tacoma.
Another SUV. This guy's got to stop getting the SUVs.
I think probably because it got better mileage. The driver of the Toyota had taken the keys out of the ignition, preventing Green from stealing the car and allowing deputies to pull him out and take the suspect into custody.
Going along the theme of today's show.
Yes. No one was injured in the multiple carjackings, attempted carjackings, and crashes, police said. Thank God. Green was taken to a hospital for observation and will be booked into the Summit County Jail on multiple felony charges, ending his terrible, horrible, horrific crime spree.
So I'm assuming he never made it to Denver.
I don't think so, no.
Those gate agents, man, they got balls of steel. I've obviously spent the majority of my life in an airport. And it was a couple months ago, I was in the airport, and the flight before my flight had gotten canceled. Mm-hmm. And there was an old man, and he was talking to him and his wife were talking to the gate agent, and she was trying as hard as she could to get them booked on a different flight, even looking at sister flights, because all the airlines work together. And it just wasn't happening. The earliest flight she can get him on was like, I think 27 hours later.
Oh my God.
And the old man she goes, well, you want me to book it? He goes, I don't know. What do you want me to do for 27 hours? And the gate agent, without missing a beat, looks him right in the eye and goes, get comfortable?
Hey, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Get comfortable.
Yep. The guy goes, let's book us the flight then. And then they stormed off. And I walked up there and said, good for you. Good for you.
There's snacks down the hall. Yeah. But Bruiser,
there's more.
There's more to add to our car stories today. If you can't steal it and wreck it, if you can't just wreck it and wreck it and wreck it and wreck it, maybe you can shoot somebody over it if they won't move.
Because again, our theme today happens to be don't give up your stuff.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Thank you, yes. Jim Valvano. A Porsche owner, or Porsche, depends on how bougie you are.
It's a Porsche.
It's a Porsche. Avoids jail for shooting a homeless man who asked her to move her car.
Why would you shoot him? Just move your car.
Because that piece of trash was in the way.
This homeless man is talking to me. He's disgusting.
I'm sorry, are your lips flapping because you're in my way?
This is a driveway, not your house.
We go to Tennessee, Bruiser.
Of course we do.
Yeah, of course we do. A Tennessee woman convicted of shooting a homeless man who asked her to move her Porsche in Nashville's iconic Music Row got off without any prison time and was sentenced instead to less than a year of probation.
Oh, come on.
I kid you not.
Yeah, money had no factor in this.
32-year-old mom of four, Katie Quackenbush,
Oh, okay.
of the esteemed Quackenbushes, on Thursday was handed a sentence of 11 months and 29 days of probation on a reckless endangerment conviction stemming from the 2017 shooting of Gerald Melton. Gosh.
Come on, you guys. Like, he was homeless. Like, just, I can't believe I'm on probation. I have children.
I thought he had enough newspaper in his shirt to stop the bullet. Quackenbush, who lived in Nashville at the time of the incident, but has since relocated to Texas, where she can fire her gun at whoever she pleases, evidently.
You think she looked it up, like best gun laws? Oh, okay, I can go to Texas. Cops are shooting each other there.
That's right. Will be allowed to serve her sentence at her new place of residence. Oh, they made arrangements. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, you don't have to leave your mansion. Stay in your mansion. Yeah. You're fine.
Oh, listen to this quote from Miss Quackenbush. This has been the worst experience of my life, but I'm grateful that I had it because it has changed me so dramatically to the core.
Instead of doing body shots, I just now aim for the head.
Quackenbush said at her sentencing. She also said, sometimes hard lessons are the best lessons. Oh, Bruiser, I have a picture for you here. This is old Katie Quackenbush at her arraignment. It says, on August 26, 2017, which, by the way, was my birthday in 2017, Melton, then age 54, was sleeping on a sidewalk in Music Row when he was awakened by loud music and exhaust fumes coming from Quackenbush's Porsche SUV because somebody's got to transport the kids in style.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. According to the Metro Nashville Police Department.
You don't understand. My kids have to hear Blippi on full volume. Full volume.
With the excellent stereo system. Melton and Quackenbush got into a heated argument during which the woman allegedly asked the man if he wanted to die tonight. Do you want to die tonight, homeless man?
You don't understand how crabby my kids get when they don't get their Blippi.
Listen, I will put juice boxes in each one of their hands and I will shoot you.
Let me calm them down, and then you're going to get shot, okay?
Let me calm them down, and then I'll shoot you.
Buffy, Mitch, look at Blippi while Mommy shoots the homeless man.
Melton testified in court that he was walking away when Quackenbush exited her car and fired 2 shots, striking him in the abdomen. Where'd the first one go?
She missed.
It was a warning shot. Bang. Quackenbush then got back in her Porsche and drove with a passenger to a Taco Bell. Oh, I can't. Taco Bell's beneath her. I would think it was Chipotle.
No, she's getting the Taco Bell. They have the nacho fries.
She was hiding out at the Taco Bell. Nobody would think to look for her there.
Only savages eat at Taco Bell.
That's right. Before heading home, neither she nor her companion initially reported the shooting to the police. Well, of course not. They aren't going to arrest me.
Cruiser, she was so distraught. She had to get a Baja Chalupa along with the Baja Blast Mountain Dew.
That's right.
Because the kids were upset because the homeless men interrupt their Blippi.
Melton survived the shooting but required 3 surgeries.
Oh, yeah, the abdomen's a bad place to get shot.
Yeah, it is. Quackenbush was arrested and indicted on charges of attempted first-degree murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Then why did she get probation?
The thing is, yeah, she should have gotten more. And the thing is, she moved her car anyways. What was the point of shooting him?
And why didn't she?
She should attempted murder. You should serve.
Yeah, attempted first-degree murder and aggravated assault. She didn't get fleeing the scene. She didn't get anything like that.
Yeah, not reporting a crime.
Yeah.
And what about her passenger? I bet her passenger was her best friend.
Yeah, the passenger didn't get aiding and abetting or anything like that. Yeah.
See what money buys you.
I guess. At her trial in April, a jury found Quackenbush guilty of the lesser charge of reckless endangerment, a misdemeanor, after she testified that she fired her gun in self-defense to scare Melton.
But his back was to her. How is that self-defense? He's walking away.
Quackenbush.
Don't you turn your back on me, you dirty homeless man.
I'm going to Taco Bell. Quackenbush, she didn't even offer to get him anything when she was going.
No.
Quackenbush's father, who is an attorney in Texas, previously claimed that Melton threatened to kill his daughter if she did not lower the volume on her radio. Oh, like you couldn't have driven away.
Yeah.
My daughter told him, I have a gun. Get the F away from me. Jesse Quackenbush told the television station Fox 17.
And then he started going away, and she shot him anyways.
She pulled off one round as a means of warning, not intending to kill or hit him. She thought she pointed far enough away from him to just scare him away, and he kept coming, and she shot another round. At the sentencing last Thursday, prosecutors questioned Quackenbush's claim that she was afraid of Melton, saying an eyewitness heard the woman say she was not frightened of the man and did not take his words seriously.
Listen here, you dirty homeless man. What are you going to do? I have a gun.
Assistant District Attorney Amy Hunter also brought up Quackenbush's disturbing history of making threats against others. In one instance, a woman admitted threatening to hit a baby with a brick.
Jeez. And this one, this woman, we're going to give the minimum sentence.
She needed to do hard time.
Yeah.
In another case, Quackenbush poured water on a woman in a restaurant. When given a chance to speak during the hearing, Quackenbush apologized to Melton for her actions, but also sought to present herself as a victim, claiming she's been ridiculed, has received death threats, and struggled to find work. Oh, Buffy.
You know what? Okay, you want to give her the minimum. You want to give her probation. That's fine. Her dad was a successful lawyer, got her off with that. But here's what they should have done. Her probation should have been she had to work 9 to 5 at like an auto plant or someplace where you have to use your hands. You have to put in a good hard day's work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like manual labor she should have had to do.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, after her 9 hours at this manual labor job, give another 2 hours at a community outreach program.
Yeah.
For the homeless.
Yeah, exactly. That's what soup kitchen.
Exactly.
8 hours at a soup kitchen.
Yep.
She claims millions of people are making fun of me online, she lamented. I was convicted by the community before trial. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo.
Well, add 2 more people making fun of you, stupid bitch.
That's right. Oh, you want to see the crocodile tears? Here she is. Here she is at her arraignment. Look at the crocodile tears.
Oh, I would so love to see someone punch her in the face.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
She might pull out her Glock with the pearl handle on it.
I have my pink 22. It's all blinged out.
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo.
You know who I feel bad for? Her husband.
Well, he probably left her. That's why she's got the 4 kids and the Porsche.
I don't think he left her. I think he's got like 6 mistresses.
Probably.
Yeah.
He probably needs them.
She's like, we're moving to Texas. He's like, I don't know. 3 and 4 live out in Texas. I don't want them that close.
Yeah, I don't want you so close to my mistresses.
Yeah.
He probably needs the comfort women, just saying.
Yep.
Let's move on, shall we?
Yes.
This one's a little grotesque.
Okay.
But
last one was kind of grotesque.
We kind of need it after that last story, though.
Yeah, we do.
Need a palate cleanser? Although this is kind of Dahmer-like, so yeah. I don't know if palate cleanser is...
Let's see if we can find the light in it. Silver lining, if you will.
Oh, good luck on that one, buddy. An Indiana man is convicted of killing and dismembering a man he had sex with in a storage unit.
Okay, so wait. Did he have sex with him in the storage unit, or he dismembered him in the storage unit?
Both. A 22-year-old man was convicted of killing and dismembering a man with whom he had a sexual relationship in 2021. According to WANE-TV, a jury found Matthew Kramer guilty of murder, abuse of a corpse, and resisting law enforcement for the death of 55-year-old Shane Wynn. Yikes. The jury reportedly recommended life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yes, definitely.
Kramer will be sentenced November 28th. Kramer's accomplice in the killing, Jacob Carrion Hamilton, was sentenced to 5 years in prison assisting in Wynn's dismemberment. Wynn was reported missing April 24th of 2021 to the Fort Wayne Police Department. He had reportedly been seen the day prior, leaving the Allen County Memorial Coliseum and driving a black Honda Odyssey minivan. On April 26, 2021, Fort Wayne police announced they arrested Kramer, Carrion Hamilton, and Cody Clements. Court records show Clements was charged in September with assisting a criminal. According to court documents cited by Wayne, WANE, that's the TV station.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Batman.
Which I've been playing Gotham Knights is an amazing game. Anyways. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it follows the Court Owl storyline, so.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Fort Wayne Police Department, or police officer rather, saw a suspicious vehicle behind a building and learned it was registered to Wynn. The officer tried to conduct a traffic stop, but the Honda Odyssey sped away. The court document said the driver reportedly jumped out of the van and the person in the passenger seat moved to the driver's side. The van reportedly crashed and the driver fled. When police went to the car, they reportedly discovered Wynn's dismembered body in trash bags.
Oh, so they're in the middle of disposing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong time to get caught.
That's right. An autopsy determined he died from blunt force trauma to the head. Inside the car, police also reportedly found receipts for instruments, including a hacksaw, 2 shovels, tarps, and more. Investigators eventually learned Wynn was dismembered in a storage unit where Kramer lived. The guy lived there.
Yeah. Wait, he lived in the storage unit?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. Mm-hmm. This is the beginnings of a serial killer.
Yep.
Like he better get life without parole, because otherwise he's going to do this again.
Yep. Carrion Hamilton reportedly recorded a video of Kramer cutting Wynn's body with a machete that they bought at Walmart.
Why would you videotape the serial killer?
Mm-hmm. Wynn reportedly offered Kramer a ride a few weeks before he was killed and asked Kramer to perform sexual acts on him. On April 23rd, Wynn allegedly told Kramer he wanted Kramer's underage niece and nephew to join them for sex next time. Kramer reportedly choked Wynn and exploded on him. According to WANE, Kramer was born without chromosome 15, which reportedly correlates with behavior and has a low average IQ of 81.
Serial killer. Definitely a serial killer in the making.
Serial killer, yep.
They'd better give him life without parole, because otherwise, like I said, he's going to do it again. And you always read about all these old serial killer cases where they get caught, but through the system, they get out somehow and they go do it again.
Yep.
Let's learn from our mistakes.
Yep.
We don't need another Jeffrey Dahmer.
As if we weren't in the NSFW part of the program already, it's time now, kids, to put the kids away. Turn down your listening devices, put on the earphones, tell your boss to go get a cup of coffee, whatever it is you do when you listen to this part of the program. It's time for the not so sexy time on
It's the Boobies and Beer Hour.
The Boobies and Beer and Boobies Hour. By the way, somebody had mentioned that when they wrote in for the contest.
Yeah.
For the Million Dash Airs AIRS Club contest.
Yeah.
They said, I want to be in the millionaire. I want to be in the Millionaires Club. And then they wrote Boobies and Beer and Boobies.
All right.
That's all they wrote. Yeah. So we appreciate that. By the way, we'll mention this before we get to the NSFW part, the not so sexy time. part of Don't Crime, Stupid Criminals. We've got this contest going on. You've got about a week and change, maybe, left to enter the contest, which is the Darkness Radio Million Heirs Club contest. What we're doing is we're giving away a 1 in a million prize pack going to one person. That's it. Just one person out there. And the reason we're doing it is we're celebrating getting 1 million downloads between June 15th and October 15th. So you guys have downloaded Darkness Radio 1 million times on Audio Boom in that time frame. And myself, Bruiser, Mally Fox, Jessica Freeberg, we're all very happy that you guys have been digging the new Darkness Radio. And hey, we want to celebrate. So the way we're doing it is we're coming up with a 1 in a million prize pack. So we've got one custom piece of Darkness Radio swag. Actually, it may be 1 or 2. I haven't decided yet. I think it may be 2. I can't decide, Bruiser. But I told Bruiser what one of the pieces is today.
I am so jealous of that.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Whoever wins that, please tag me in every picture you take of it.
There you go. And as we're recording this, I've been talking to Howie, the world famous Howie Noel, and talking about the new logo, the new Darkness Radio Millionaires Club logo. It's just about ready. So when that logo is ready, I will post the logo with the, hopefully I think I can get a mock-up of the logo with the piece of merchandise, the piece of merch.
You usually can, because with that stuff, you have to approve everything.
Yep. So
they'll send you mock-ups.
Yeah. So when we can get that, we'll send you we'll try to post a mock-up online on social media so everybody can get an idea of what this will look like.
So jealous.
Yeah. So people will get an idea of what we're looking at here. And we're going to do something special for one person out there. For everybody else, we'll have some secondary prizes. Not everybody else, but for certain people that we draw, we're going to draw names. We'll have a few secondary prizes out there. But basically, we're celebrating 1 million downloads in that time frame here on Audio Boom. We're grateful to you guys for listening to the show, both True Crime Tuesday and Darkness Radio. And hey, we're giving away this 1 in a million prize pack. So what's in this 1 in a million prize pack? Well, we've got Beer City Bruiser, who's signing a special 8x10 for you. We've got this little bit of special one of a kind, like an NFT type deal. Only you own it, nobody else. Bruiser doesn't have it. I don't have it. Yep. It's just you. You own this Darkness Radio Millionaires Club merchandise. So, yeah, man. It's like when Wu-Tang Clan made that album for Martin Shkreli and he went and got arrested and nobody knows where the album is. It's like that. You've got
it's gonna appear now because we mention it all the time. And I was actually doing research into it the other day. It's gonna turn out.
What, the Wu-Tang Clan album?
Yeah.
Oh, it might. You know, they've been talking about, someone's been talking about trying to find that album and making it available for everybody.
Yeah, there's, I want to say it was the CEO of Spotify, I think, was saying that he wants to hire somebody because he wants to put it online for everybody.
Yep.
And the Wu-Tang Clan, they're all of them are like, hey, we don't, we recorded it, we did what we did.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there for whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with this.
No. This is way different.
We're making this for one person and one person only. This is as valuable as when, what's a good way of putting this? This is as valuable as I don't want to say a Ric Flair championship belt because he's got a ton of them.
Yeah.
This is as valuable as
the Hope Diamond.
The Hope Diamond. That's a good one. That's a good one, my friend. I was going to say this is as valuable as a Muhammad Ali championship belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man. So how do you get a hold of this 1 in a million prize pack? It's real simple. You just write me at tim@darknessradio.com. Send me an email in the subject line. This will get you disqualified if you don't do it correctly. I want to be in the Million Heirs, AIRS Club. That's the only thing that's got to be on there. In the body of the email, you can write anything. I want my free shit. Give me my free shit. Alien sent me here to get my free shit. A ghost told me a secret about this free shit.
Boobies and beer and boobies.
Boobies and beer and boobies. I'm a big fan of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. I got a huge crush on Bruiser. I've heard that once or twice.
What?
Yeah,
No.
I did actually. There's you got a couple of groupies out there. I'm not gonna lie, Bruiser. Let's see. What else?
Thank you.
Well, there you go. I've heard it more than once or twice, man. I've heard it.
I haven't heard it at all.
I've heard it a few times since you've been on the show.
I haven't heard it at all.
Well, that's because they're not going to come to you, man. They're going to come to me and tell me.
I'm a very approachable guy.
They don't
I
want-
respond to people. Everyone that's reached out to me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, I've responded to.
These ladies
I'm
don't
not
want to
polite.
get. These ladies don't want to get knocked the fuck out by Mrs. Bruiser. That's what I'm saying. So they come to
Well,
me.
hopefully they win this, and they tag me in the picture of the
There you go. Yeah.
the prize. Because
So-
I'm jealous. I want it,
It's,
but I
telling
can't
you.
enter because I work with you.
That's well, yeah. I mean, and we're giving the prize to to somebody else.
And only one entry per household.
That's right. One entry per household,
Yep.
per person. So that's it. Per person, per household. But yeah, send that email, tim@darknessradio.com. I want to be in the millionaires, AIRS. It's dash AIRS club. Put that in the subject line, put anything else in the body of the email, and get that out here within this next week. That's it. This week is your final week to get those entries in. We're going to draw next week. So, do it now. Get it in.
Yes,
Get it in.
do it.
Okay, so
That's enough time for them to get the kids out of the room.
all right. That's enough
Floss
time.
them to get coffee, headphones in,
That's right.
sound off.
That's right.
Time for the beer and boobies and beer section.
That's
Not
right.
safe for work.
That's right. Here we go. Are you ready?
Ready.
A man getting intimate with his partner in a nightclub stall attacks the cleaner who interrupted them.
That's because they wanted to have that dirty sex.
Ew, that's a little too dirty.
Well, yeah, especially the nightclub.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've all been there. We've all been there.
Have we?
I have.
we
I've been
all
that
have?
drunk. You haven't been that drunk?
No, not a turlet. No. Mm-mm.
I know. I have to admit it. I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
No, I just no. I've thought about the Mile High Club thing.
I can't. I don't know how people do that.
I will say I might have done a little under the blanket on an airplane, but not.
See, I haven't done that, and I don't get the Mile High Club. There's no way. I can barely fit to take a shit in those things.
You got me.
Every time
Barely
I get
fit
in
to
there, I
take a
hit my
shit.
head. I'm like, how? How? And I try to do the physics in my head.
If I have to explain it to you,
I know how to do that. I have 4 kids. I know how.
well,
to.
okay, all right.
They just weren't conceived a mile high.
Well, thank God. I was going to say it would probably sound like 2 bison trying to run over that woman from last week. Well, let's get back to the story.
Yes. He attacks the janitor, if you will.
Yeah, a frisky Australian club patron bashed a cleaner who caught him engaged in an intimate act inside a disabled toilet.
Well, at least he went with the disabled one, so there's more room.
Or maybe the toilet was just disabled.
Which could be. It's a nightclub.
You know what? The handicap stalls are a little bit bigger,
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
which pisses me off because I'm on a knee caddy
Yeah.
and everybody's always in that stall, handicapped or not.
No, I tried it. Like, I do my best not to go into it. When I feel bad if I do and I come out and there's someone in a wheelchair that needs it, I profusely apologize and I don't shake their hand because I didn't wash my hands yet. But I'm just, I feel so guilty.
You know what I always get when I'm sitting there waiting for somebody to come out of one of those who's very much capable?
What?
I always get, well, they should make all of them that size. I'm sorry.
I at least have a really bad limp, so
Well, I
look disabled.
I can see with you, like I understand your situation. You've got back knees and all that other stuff.
But I still try to go in regular stalls, but
And I can see where you need the bars to help you up and down. I get that.
Well, that's why I like my gym, because they have the bars in every stall.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
But, when you see a 25-year-old kid who works there.
Oh, yeah.
In the handicap stall, come on, kid. I know you're out there lifting shit and putting it on the shelves.
Yeah.
You don't need that. And he's in there and he's texting and he's playing on his phone. And he's in there for 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
At one point, I rammed my knee caddy into the door and said, "Can you get out of there already?"
You should just slide your handicap placard underneath and tap it.
I have my placard for Delta to get me onto flights. Yep. I have flashed it underneath the door at one time. I've done that just to get people out of there. I get impatient when it comes to that's one of my huge pet peeves.
Well, if you got to go, you got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do my best to not, but if I have to go and that's the only one open, I'm going to get in.
Yeah.
And then if I hear someone knock,
yeah,
I finish up and get out. It's not like I yell, "Are you handicapped? Do you need to come in here?"
Show me your handicap. Jump out of your chair and crawl in here.
Show me your placard.
Show me your placard. Ex-Army technician, 28-year-old Billy Dean Fallon, repeatedly punched the cleaner after bursting out of the female disabled cubicle at Nightjar nightclub in Burleigh Heads, Queensland on January 20th. Fallon admitted assault occasioning bodily harm on Monday at Southport Magistrates Court, according to the Gold Coast Bulletin. CCTV played in court showed Fallon throwing a flurry of punches at the cleaner, who had been.
Do?
What's that?
What'd the girl do? I'm assuming he's in there with a girl.
Maybe. Maybe he was in there with himself. Who had been knocking at the toilet door. Oh, is there a picture here? Who had been knocking on the toilet door for a few minutes. So CCTV played in court showed Fallon throwing a flurry of punches at the cleaner who had been knocking on the toilet door for a few minutes.
Come back and clean it later. You don't have to keep knocking.
Oh, there is pictures.
Not that that's the reason to get your face bashed in, but...
The cleaner ends up slammed against the wall, and Fallon continues to hit him as he falls to the floor. A blonde woman in a green dress is then seen shuffling out of the cubicle.
Okay, so he was in with her. Okay.
All right. The court heard that she and Fallon had been in the midst of an intimate encounter.
And then the knock came and she dried up like the Sahara.
I bet he was pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
He was in there becoming intimate with his partner. They were in the midst of becoming intimate when someone started banging on the door, defense lawyer Angus Edwards said. How would you like to be his defense lawyer? What defense do you come up with in this case?
Oh, you got to appeal to all the men on that jury and go, look, guys.
Yeah, Rona, he's going at it. He's having a go. Here he goes.
He's throwing another shrimp on that barbie. We've all been there.
We've all been there, and you hear this. And what do, right? What do you say? Hey, mate, hold on. I might well say, right? Give me another 4 seconds. She goes, 4 seconds? You better get it going, mate. I mean,
Do you think jury selection was the defense attorney going, do you have kids? No, you're done. Do you have kids? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, you stay. Do you have kids? Because we've all been interrupted by kids.
Yeah. He acted impulsively. He acted protectively, and he thought he was protecting himself and his partner.
From the janitor.
Said the defense attorney. The cleaner was left with a broken nose.
Oh.
Yeah. Fallon was sentenced to a year in prison, but was granted immediate parole. He was ordered to pay his victim $1,500. I don't know, $1,500 worth of broken nose?
Yeah. I've broken my nose for far less.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
I still wouldn't punch a jab. I just say, hey, sorry, man. You've been there.
Yeah.
Mood is right. Right song came on.
I don't know if the mood is right in a bathroom, public bathroom. But.
Well, it's not like they can do it in the nightclub, which I've seen that also.
This is, let me see if I can get the right. Yeah, but okay. You make the call. This is the old IBM feature on the football game. You ready for this? Bruiser, you make the call. Does she look like she's hot and bothered and ready?
No, she's like, well, thank God that's over.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was.
She didn't even put her, look, if you look, she didn't even put her drink down.
No, she
still has her drink in her hand.
She's two-fisting. She's got his drink and her drink.
Yeah. There was no way they were about to get intimate.
And this guy, he only has his shirt off.
Yeah, no, they were, and there's so many other people in that restroom, they were not getting in.
No.
He thought he was going to get some is what it was.
That's exactly what it was.
And she was like, oh, you're so funny. Not here, not,
Yep. There's nothing going on there.
No.
Yeah, so it was a little excessive. The guy was a hothead.
Yeah. The guy wanted to get some. She's probably saying no. He's probably trying his best game. Janitor interrupts. He takes his aggression out on the janitor.
Yep. That's exactly what it was.
Yep. Look at that. We're detectives.
We're detectives. we get our Ovaltine ring and everything else now. Finally, on the not so sexy part of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, and our final story for the day. If you're ready for this, Bruiser, a woman is busted in a domestic fight over a sex toy. I know it seems like we read this story every week.
We do. There's always sex toy fights or sex toys being used as weapons or sex toys. Did you hear there was a sex toy thrown on the Buffalo Sabres hockey arena?
No.
Yeah, I guess the latest thing in Buffalo is to throw sex toys onto the field at Buffalo Bills games or on the ice at Sabres games.
Really?
Yeah, and I guess it was a strong enough sex toy where the hockey player was able to flip it off the ice with a stick. So
nice. Well, they are a little sexually repressed right there in Buffalo.
I guess so.
Yeah. It's all the hot wings.
We've all used one as a sword at one point in time.
We have.
You've never sword fought with your friends in an adult toy store?
No.
Maybe it's just me. I gotta get new friends then.
I think you do. I think you hang out with the kings of debauchery there.
We get bored on the road, all right?
I guess. Yeah, you do. I got to start hanging out with your friends. You have a hell of a lot more fun than I do.
We make lightsaber sounds and everything.
Boy, that Dave Chappelle skit really is true. Your lightsaber smells funny. So we go to we're going to Florida for this last one.
Of course we are. I knew we can't go an episode without a Florida story.
A dispute over possession of a sex toy turned violent early Saturday and resulted in the arrest of a Florida woman for battering her boyfriend.
Over possession of the so they're having a custody dispute over a sex toy?
I guess, yeah. Responding to a domestic violence situation at a home in Fort Pierce, cops interviewed the male victim who said that he and 34-year-old Chelsea White were having a verbal argument over a handbag and a sex toy. Oh, God, isn't that every relationship, though?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, handbag. And
was they a package deal, or was it just...
I think it was who's
either the handbag or either the sex toy.
Yeah, take one or the other. You're not taking both. As the argument progressed, the victim asked White to return the sex toy to him because he owned it. Oh, that kinky.
Okay.
Police reported. However, White refused to give the sex toy back to the victim. The adult item is not further described in an arrest affidavit, probably to pure embarrassment by the cop.
It's a big purple dick.
Probably. Purple dick. Purple dick. Unable to secure the restroom. Unable to secure the return of his sex toy, the 33-year-old victim picked up White's handbag and declared, "I have your bag. Give me back my property."
You don't give me my sex toy, I'm taking your bag.
That's right.
What are you going to put stuff in now?
What are you going to put that big purple dick in now? A struggle for control of the handbag followed and with White allegedly kicking and biting the man. Good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you, sister.
There's no rules in street fighting.
That's right. The victim, cops say, punched White to make her stop biting him. That's such dirty pool.
It is. Just bite her back.
Yeah. After investigators concluded that White was the primary aggressor during the 8:30 a.m. battle, that is way too early.
It's so early for sex toys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're it's so early to be fighting over sex toys. How about that?
At least
it's never too early for sex.
At least have your coffee first.
Maybe they had their coffee. That's what started the whole conversation. They were splitting up their assets. And it came to the purple dick, and he's like, "No, that's my purple dick." And she's like, "No." He's like, "Yes."
And they were
She's like, "Well, I got your bag. What are you gonna do now?"
They're
got your nose.
They're fired up over the caffeine.
It kicked in right at that time.
I am ready. I am ready. Give me my purple dick.
I'm gonna bite you. I'm gonna bite you. Give me my purple dick back.
Wait a minute. When I last had this purple dick, it had the inscription on the side that said, "I love you, you love me." It was from the Barney collection. And now it only says, "You and me." It's been worn down. Who's been wearing down my purple dick? After investigators concluded that White was the primary aggressor during the 8:30 a.m. battle in the couple's residence, she was arrested for domestic battery and booked into the St. Lucie County Jail. It's a good one. You ought to check it out sometime. On the misdemeanor count, locked up in lieu of $500 bond. That's it, because that's all you can get for stealing a purple dick these days.
Do you think to say she's sorry? She just bought a new sex toy for him. Okay, I'm sorry.
You could have went out and just bought a brand new one for, I don't know how much purple dicks are going for these days, but less than $500 bucks.
Perfectly. She got it molded perfectly for her.
God. White is scheduled for arraignment on November 16th.
I really hope they put pictures of the purple dick in the
but I have the
handbag in the court proceedings.
Here's a picture of the offender.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness.
She's not an attractive woman, and I'm not the sexiest man in the world, but oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe the purple dick didn't want to go with her. Maybe the purple dick held on to the guy going, "I want to come home with you, please. Let me stay with you.
My precious." Yeah, so that'll do it. That's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today. We don't mean to be harsh and judgeful, but we are harsh and judgeful today. That's just how Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals went today. So that's it. That's it. That's done. By the way, get your Parashare stories into us for supernatural news. You can do that by sending it to tim@darknessradio.com. Label your story Parashare in the subject line. You can also go to darknessradioshow.com. There's a little blue button on the right-hand side of the website there. You just click it, leave your voice note. You've got 2 minutes to leave your voice note. If you need more time, you just click it again, leave us another 2-minute voice note. I'll stitch them together. We'll play it on the show. Just like Corey did last week from Wisconsin.
I'll say it works. Corey did it.
Yep. And we'll play it here on the show, and you'll be able to hear your lovely voice here on the air, and we'll review your story here on the air. Otherwise, send us your stories, and we will read them on the air, your emailed stories, your Parashare, your paranormal experiences. Also, if you have had experiences with a murderer or come close to experiences with a murderer, we want to start taking those stories here on True Crime Tuesday. We'll read those stories again here on True Crime Tuesday. We'll read them before Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals.
I love hearing those stories because you see either how close someone was to something or how elusive these people are. Yeah. You know, like we had the one from the Australian fella, and it was... You and I are both like, whoa. Yeah. So send those stories in as well, tim@darknessradio.com. We want to hear about your experiences or close calls with a murderer. So send those in as well. That'll do it for today. Bruiser, you had mentioned that you are going to be in Junction City and Springfield, Missouri this weekend. You can check those events out at darknessradioshow.com. or the Darkness Radio
Apple app. If you go to events on that Apple app, you can click that and you'll see where Bruiser's going to be. You can also get tickets right off that as well. The links are there as well.
Links are on there, yeah.
Yep. Or go to Bruiser's social media sites, which are available if you go to our official Darkness Radio Show site as well. Or the Apple app. You can go to Bruiser's page on the Apple app, and all his social media sites are there as well.
And I try to respond to all the messages I get. I love interacting with our fans.
There you go. There you go. Tomorrow it's Supernatural News and Perisher, and we'll have all kinds of interesting, wacky, fun Supernatural news stories for you.
And I can give an update on my shed. A little investigation.
Did you do an investigation of the shed?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have that tomorrow as well. We'll talk about what's in Bruiser's shed that is unnerving Mrs. Bruiser.
Ziggy.
And Ziggy. So we'll do that tomorrow as well. We'll have that as well tomorrow for you. So from Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Join us tomorrow for the best in paranormal podcasting. In the meantime, thanks for listening to the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.